Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of What If Naruto Became the Black Fox of Kumo. If you enjoy the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos, and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 6. Anko stood just outside the gate to what she likes to call her personal little playground. Before her stood the genin who had managed to pass the first exam. Most of them were bent over trying to catch their breath from the insane sprint they did to get there. However, she noticed that her little brother's team hardly looked winded. Smirking in their direction, she cleared her throat loudly to gain the attention of the genin. Alright maggots, you'll be spending 5 days in here, and your objective while in here is to get both of these scrolls, a heaven and an earth scroll. Once you have both scrolls, you'll make your way to the tower in the heart of the forest. Now once all of you sign these consent forms, go to the booth over there to receive your scroll, said Anko while handing out the consent forms and waiting for all the teams to sign them and get a scroll. Most of the teams were hesitant at first until they saw the team from Kumo sign the forms without hesitation and go to the booth and receive their scroll. Not wanting to be shown up, the rest of the teams soon followed Team 20's example and signed the forms before getting their scrolls. With Team 20 at Gate 20, Naruto and his team were planning what to do once the second exam began. We'll find the nearest team and take them down before they have time to react. Don't hold back. We move in hard and fast and get out in under a minute. Leave no trace of our presence and eliminate the bodies, said Naruto. They had decided that while they were in the forest away from prying eyes, they would use their true strength to finish the exam as quickly as possible. So we finally get to go all out. It's about damn time, said Karui as she sharpened her katana while they waited for the exam to start. Yeah, it's been a long time since we were allowed to go no holds barred, said Yugito while she stretched slightly. Yes, it has been a while since we went all out. The last time was against Darui-sensei and B-sensei in our last spar before we came here, said Naruto while they waited for the announcement to start. They didn't have to wait long before Anko's voice sounded over the speaker system. Alright you worthless maggots, the second part of the Shoyunin exams begin now. The gates flew open when her voice stopped, and the teams didn't waste any time and launched into the forest. Team 20 stopped on a high branch about 5 minutes into the forest. So who do we hit first? Asked Karui, while she kept an eye on their surroundings. Yugito-chan, you're the censor of our team, it's your call, said Naruto, giving his girlfriend a smile. Returning the smile, Yugito put her hands in the ram seal and started to focus on the nearby chakra signals. She stayed like that for a few minutes before she opened her eyes and turned to her team. There are 3 teams near our position. The first one is Team 10 from the first exam, the second one is a team from Kiri, and the third one is a weird team of KUSA Ninja heading towards Team 7, who are the next closest to our position, she said while Naruto looked in the directions she pointed in when she mentioned a new team. Of all the chakra signatures, the KUSA team has the largest, and I'm fairly certain one of them is Orochimaru based on the evil feel of the chakra. We know Team 7's skills from the wave mission, and if what Kakashi said was true, they aren't any better than they were then. The Kiri team is the closest, and they seem to be about the same strength as Team 7. Alright, we'll go after the Kiri team, and if they don't have the scroll we need, we'll go after another team, said Naruto, getting a nod from his team. Lead the way, Yugito-chan. Nodding again, Yugito took off in the direction she sensed the Kiri team with her teammates on her heels. They ran for about 5 minutes before they came upon the Kiri team setting up a campsite for the night. Alright, we take them hard and fast, strike from a distance, and don't show mercy. They moved into position so they could take out the entire Kiri team at once, and not give them a chance to counter. Once they were in position, they didn't hesitate, and each took out their target in their own unique way. Naruto took out a kunai and launched it at the back of his target's neck, killing him instantly. Yugito used 2 shuriken and impaled her target's head from both sides. Karui jumped from her hiding spot and snuck up on her target, and decapitated her before she knew what was happening. Well, that's all of them. Now hopefully they have the scroll we need, said Karui, as she started going through her target's supply pouch. This one didn't have the scroll, she called to her teammates as they went through their kills belongings. This one doesn't have it either. called Yugito after she finished checking her kills pouch. Got it, called Naruto as he pulled an earth scroll out of his target's pouch. Damn, it's another earth scroll. I guess we'll have to find another team and hope they have what we need. So we're going another team then, Yugito. Are there any others around besides Team 7 and the KUSA team? Asked Karui as she walked over with Yugito. Give me a second, I'll check it out, said Yugito as she once again put her hands into the REM seal and began to focus. There aren't many other teams nearby, except for a team from Konoha that isn't Team 7, 8, or 10. Alright, we'll head towards the Konoha team as soon as we destroy this campsite and remove the bodies, said Naruto as he picked up the body of the person he killed and placed it next to the bodies of his teammates. Going through a few hand signs and ending with the tiger sign, fire style, fireball jutsu, bringing his right hand to his mouth, he exhaled a fireball that incinerated the corpses of the Kuri team. Going through another set of seals, Naruto once again raised his hand to his lips, wind style, great breakthrough. The ashes that had been left behind by the bodies were lost to wind and spread throughout the forest. While he was doing this, Yugito and Karui had gotten rid of the campsite and were waiting for him to finish. Let's get moving. With that, they took off towards the Konoha team with thoughts of payback in mind. 30 minutes later, Team 20 stood on a branch overlooking the clearing where their next victims were sitting. The team was made of 3 boys, and they had a heaven scroll sitting out in plain sight. Raising an eyebrow at the scroll sitting a few feet away from the team, Naruto turned to look at his teammates. This team is either really strong or really stupid. If they have their scroll out in the open like that, then there are either traps set up to stop attackers or they're that confident in their skills that they can defend the scroll, said Naruto as Yugito and Karui nodded in agreement. If they think they can fight us off, then let's test that theory. Making a familiar cross-shaped seal, Naruto performed one of his favorite jutsus, Shadow Clone Jutsu. An exact clone of Naruto appeared in a puff of smoke before it jumped away to complete its task. Let's go, said Naruto as he jumped off of the branch they were on and launched a hail of shuriken at the Konoha genin. The Konoha team, who had been discussing what they planned on doing after they became shonen, jumped out of the way of the rain of shuriken just in time to avoid any serious injury. Thought they got a few cuts. Looking up, they barely had time to register that the Kumo team they had seen in the first exam was falling towards them, each with a blade drawn and ready to kill. Shaking off the slight bit of fear they felt at the sight of the team, they each drew a kunai and charged Team 20 with the intent to finish this quickly. Breaking away from each other, Team 20 each took on one of their Konoha counterparts. Naruto and his opponent met with a clash of steel as ninjato and kunai clashed over and over again, neither of them giving an edge. Ducking under a kunai strike to the head, Naruto tried to sweep his opponent's feet out from under him, only for him to jump over the kick and aim a kick of his own at Naruto's head. Sidestepping the kick, Naruto swung his ninjato up, hoping to remove his opponent's left arm, his body. Seeing the sword about to remove his arm, the Konoha ninja jumped away, but couldn't avoid the strike completely, if the long gash on his arm was any indication. Yugito charged her opponent before letting loose a few kunai to throw him off balance. Unfortunately, he managed to avoid the kunai and threw a couple of his own back at her. Blocking the kunai she couldn't dodge, she went for a roundhouse kick to her opponent's head, which was blocked by his forearm. Using the arm as a fulcrum, Yugito rotated her body and brought an axe kick down on her opponent's shoulder with a satisfying crunch. Moving away from her, the Konoha ninja tried to throw some shuriken at her, but with his arm's current state, he could hardly move it. Not wanting to give him any time to make another move, Yugito moved in fast and removed his head from his body. Karui had immediately put her opponent on the defensive with her relentless kenjutsu strikes. He tried to go for a kick to her midsection, but she positioned her katana so that his foot would meet the sharp end of the blade. She wasn't disappointed when his foot cut itself on her blade, giving her the opening she needed to finish him with a sword to the heart. Looking over and noticing his teammates had already finished off their opponents, he decided to end his little spar as well. However, before he could move in for the kill, he noticed a shadow move and grabbed the heaven scroll that had been sitting out during the entire fight. Not a second later he got his clone's memories after it dispelled, letting him know the position of the scroll. Breaking away from his current struggle, Naruto jumped to stand near his team before addressing the lone Konoha ninja. Well, that was fairly entertaining, but I'm afraid that we must be going. We have what we came for. With that, Team 20 jumped back into the trees and found where the clone had left the scroll. Pocketing the scroll, Naruto and his team left in the direction of the tower with the cries of the Konoha ninja left alive echoing in the night. Central Tower 2 hours later. Team 20 had just made it to the entrance to the tower after avoiding about 5 teams who tried to ambush them. Man, I knew the villages had gotten a little lax in the years, but they call those an ambush. Those are the kinds of traps they made us do in the academy, said an annoyed Karui. The last 3 times someone tried to ambush them, one of the males on the teams had smacked Karui's ass in each attempt. Needless to say, those 3 had an unwilling and quite painful gender change. Well, come on, let's head in before someone else tries something, said Naruto as he opened the door and bowed, saying, ladies first. Yugito smiled at the gentleman's side of her boyfriend, while Karui just patted him on the head and said good boy. Naruto growled slightly at being referred to as a dog. This caused his 2 teammates to fall over laughing, and Kurama to start thrashing in his cage with laughter. You have to admit, Kit, that was funny. Oh, I hope your mate does that more often, was what he heard from the fox, who had been quiet as of late. Can it furball, or should I subject you to that memory again? Thought Naruto and smirked as Kurama instantly shut up. Please, for the love of Kami, not that thing again. I swear I'll stop, I won't do anything bad, I be a good boy, just please not that. Cried Kurama, who was rocking in the fetal position in his cage. Hey Yugito-chan, Karui remind me to thank Guy and his mini-clone for what they showed us the day before the first exam, laughed Naruto as he walked up to them. Said Kunoichi shared a confused look before a look of fear crossed their faces. Naruto couldn't be taking about that, could he? Naruto-kun, I love you with all my heart, but please tell me you aren't talking about that sadistic unbreakable genjutsu of theirs, said Yugito with obvious fear in her voice. Naruto's fox grin told them all they needed to know, and both Kunoichi shuddered and prayed to Kamiyami and Shinigami that they were never subjected to that unforgiving jutsu again. Shaking his head at his team's antics, but not really being able to blame them for it, Naruto looked around the room and noticed a message written on the wall. Quickly reading over the message, he came to the conclusion they needed to open the scrolls now. Taking out the scrolls from his pouch, Naruto handed the heaven scroll to Yugito. I think we need to open the scrolls now, said Naruto while slightly opened the flap of the earth scroll. Yugito copied his actions, and with a nod to each other they opened the scrolls at the same time. They looked at the scrolls for a second before Naruto recognized the summoning seal of the scrolls, and threw his to floor, Yugito mirroring his actions. The second the scrolls hit the floor they started to smoke, and the 3 Kumo genin were on alert and ready to strike. When the customary puff of smoke occurred, the 3 moved to trap the newcomer before the smoke cleared. Once they had the person in a 3-way death hold, they were about to finish them when a very familiar voice stopped them. Excellent work on completing the second exam so quickly, team. Now, if it's not too much trouble, could you please let me go, said Darui, who was currently being held in an awkward position. He was bent backwards with Naruto's ninjato at his neck ready to decapitate him, while the tip of Karui's katana was at his spine ready to sever it, and Yugito's wakizashi was dangerously close to piercing his heart. Oops, sorry Darui-sensei, said Karui while she and her team removed their weapons from their sensei's body. No harm done, and I'm proud that you were ready for anything and weren't taking any chances. If I could, I would promote you all to Shoyunin right now for that display of teamwork and resourcefulness, said Darui as he gave his team a proud smile, which was gladly returned. Now, I was sent here to explain that message on the wall, but I really don't care about that, so why don't we just head up to our rooms and wait for the other competitors to finish the exam? With that, Darui led his team farther into the tower and towards the upper levels where the rooms for the competitors were. Naruto, and I will take this one, Yugito and Karui, you two can have that one. Nodding their heads in agreement, the Kumo team went into their separate rooms to rest. The next day, council chamber. This is a serious problem, Sarutobi, We must get the Kyubi Jinchuriki back into the village, said Homura Mitakato to the assembled council, which consisted of high-standing civilians and the heads of the clans in Konoha. Nodding in agreement with her fellow elder, Kohari Utatane spoke as well. Homura is right, Sarutobi. We must get the Kyubi Jinchuriki back into the village no matter what. Many of the clan heads nodded in agreement. Not only would they have the power of the Kyubi back in their control, but they would also the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Izumaki back. While many on the Shinobi Council agreed that it was critical that they get Naruto back in the village, the Civilian Council wasn't so adamant about having the so-called demon brat return. No, we must not allow that demon to return to this village. What we should do is send every ninja this village has to kill the monster that took away Minato-kun. Screeched the head of the Civilian Council, Sayuki Haruo. Many present flinched at the volume of her voice. They knew that she was Minato's biggest fangirl, and had completely lost it when Minato and Kushina started hanging out more when they began dating in secret. It was also common knowledge that she blamed Naruto for everything the Kyubi did, more so than most of the civilian population, especially for Minato's death. No, we will bring Naruto back to village and he will be treated like the hero his father wanted him to be seen as, said Sarutobi in a tone that left no room for argument. Sayuki was about to start screeching again, but wisely stopped when the Hokage signaled for the Anbu to reveal themselves. Now, we come to our current problem, how to get young Naruto back into the village. I do not see what the problem is, Hokage-sama. Why would Naruto not want to return to the village of his birth? Asked Hayashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga clan. The Hokage sighed as he knew this would cause a serious headache for him later on. The problem is that I believe those bastards in Kumo have placed a loyalty seal of some kind on young Naruto. When I tried to approach him and welcome him back to his true home, he stopped me and spoke to me with so much venom in his voice that I was stunned. The only reason Naruto would speak to me with such a voice would have to be because of a loyalty seal, said the aged Kage as a tear rolled down his cheek. The Shinobi Council and the elders gasped at this. They knew Kumo wouldn't hesitate to resort to drastic measure to get what they want, but to place such a seal on a child was unthinkable. We must do whatever it takes to break young Naruto of whatever seal has been placed on him. The Shinobi Council and elders nodded in agreement, all but one of them thinking of the best way to return the son of their greatest hero to the village. Danzo Shimura, while he was thinking of ways to bring Naruto back to Konoha, was also thinking of a way to get this obviously powerful shinobi under his thumb. The council spent a few minutes trying to figure out the best way to get Naruto back into the village until Inoichi Yamanaka suddenly stood up with a proposition. Hokage-sama, what if those of us with daughters have them try to seduce or win Naruto's heart to give him a connection to the village? Many of the other Shinobi Council members agreed to this. It would not only help them to convince Naruto to return to the village, but could also possibly give them an heir to the Namikaze and Izumaki lines. Yes, that is a good idea, but it will be slightly difficult because Kumo has given him some slut to keep him grounded in their village, said the Hokage. Many of the council members scowled at that, to not only use a loyalty seal, but to also use some random slut to make him fall in love was even worse. It doesn't matter, we'll just have to remove her, and make it appear like an accident. Then one of our daughters can move in and console him, winning him over in the process, said Hayashi, with the other clan heads nodding in agreement. Very well, after the second stage of the Shoyunin exams is complete we will make her disappear during the month-long break, said Sarutobi, getting nods of agreement from the Shinobi Council, while the Civilian Council scowled. If the demon brat was brought back to the village, then they would make sure that his life here would be hell, and the second he produced an heir they would have him executed. 4 days later, Central Tower. Naruto stood with his team and the other genin teams that passed the second exam. Among them were Team 7, 8, 10, and Gei's team. There was a team from Suna that had finished a few hours after Team 20 and Odo team that looked like most of them had gone through hell, and the last team there was the silver-haired boy from the first exam and his teammates. Naruto was staring at the people standing in front of them, specifically a certain old man with eyes that promised nothing but pain and suffering when he got his hands on him. Before them stood the Hokage along with their Jounin senseis standing behind him. Anko stood with the Jounin and had a headset on. Next to her stood a sickly-looking Jounin with a bandana-style headband, and the standard Konoha Jounin uniform. Congratulations to all of you for passing the second stage in the Shoyunin exams. Now normally we would go straight to the third exam, but seeing as so many of you passed the exam, we will be holding a preliminary round now to cut your numbers down. Those of you who don't think you can compete any further are free to go. Just give your name to the proctor and you will be escorted out. The only one to drop out willingly was Kabuto, claiming he didn't have any chakra left to fight. One of the sound team made their teammate drop out since neither of his arms were useful. Seeing as no one else was going to drop out, the Hokage handed over control to the sickly Jounin. Hello everyone, my name is Hayate Gecko. Like Hokage-sama said, we will be holding a preliminary round where each of you will compete in one-on-one matches. The match is over when one of the participants is unable to continue. I call the match, or one of you dies. Participants will be chosen at random. Now let's decide the first match, said Hayate as Anko said something into her headset, and a panel on the wall opened up to reveal a screen with names flying across it. Everyone held their breath as the names continued to scroll across the screen. The screen suddenly stopped on 2 names and everyone who wasn't chosen let out a breath, while those that were chosen were preparing for a fight. Will Sasuke, Uchiha and Yoroikido please stay down here? The rest of you can move to the observation platforms, said Hayate, while Sasuke and one of Kabuto's teammates stayed behind and everyone else moved to the observation platforms. With Team 20. So the Uka's going first. This should be entertaining, said Yugito as she sat on the railing of the observation platform. Down on the floor, said Imo stood across from one of the members of Kabuto's team. It was hard to tell anything by looking at the guy because of his purple face mask that covered everything from his nose to his neck, and his sunglasses weren't helping. Down in the arena, Hayate stepped in between the 2 competitors and looked at each before speaking. The first round, Sasuke Uchiha vs Yoroikido, are the both of you ready? Asked Hayate, before going into a coughing fit. Yes, said Yoroi in a monotone. Yeah, let's get this over with, said the world's biggest emo. Very well then, the first round. Begin, said Hayate as he jumped back so as not to get caught in the crossfire. Yoroi didn't waste any time and threw 2 shuriken at Sasuke, following in after them with his right hand glowing with chakra. Seeing the lethal stars, Sasuke pulled out a kunai to deflect them, sending them back at Yoroi. Dodging under the shuriken, Yoroi continued with his charge and launched his right hand at the Uchiha. Rolling to side to avoid the strike that created a small crater on the floor, Sasuke used his kunai to stop his roll, and used his feet to flip Yoroi away. Not bad, better take this a little more seriously, thought Yoroi as he got up off the floor to stare at the still down form of the Uchiha gripping his left shoulder. So the curse mark is still affecting him, now's my chance. Yoroi charged forward with his right hand erupting in chakra again, and before Sasuke could do anything, he grabbed onto his head. Sasuke's eyes widened when he felt his chakra leaving him. He's draining my chakra. I've got to end this fast, he thought while he was barely able to swat the hand away, put some distance between them. With Team 20. The MO's in for a hard fight. Judging from the drop in his chakra signature, I'd wager that Yoroi guy has the ability to drain his opponent's chakra, said Yugito from her spot on the rail. Her back was facing the fight while she looked at her team. You're right, if Yoroi can get in close, this match is finished. How much chakra does the bastard have left? Asked Naruto while he leaned on the rail next to his girlfriend. Yugito focused for a minute before she answered. Not much. If he tries to use ninjutsu, even a basic fireball, he'll kill himself from chakra depletion. But if Yoroi can get a hold of him for more than 30 seconds, he'll die because chakra depletion anyway. Nodding in agreement, the Kumo team turned to look at the fight, except Naruto, who felt a pair of eyes watching him closely. Turning to where he felt the eyes coming from, Naruto came face to face with the third Hokage. Judging by the look in his eyes, he has something planned. Hokage or not, if he tries anything to harm Yugito-chan, Karui or Darui-sensei, I'll make him pay. I don't think you have to worry about him trying anything too drastic, even humans aren't that stupid, came the ever-present voice of Kurama. Kurama, you know as well as I that humans can be the stupidest beings on the face of the earth. Just look at what they've done to me in the past, and their wrongly placed fear of the Bajoa. Just because we're different that somehow gives them the right to fear and attack us. You make a good point, Kit. Don't worry if that old fool tries anything that threatens either of our mates. He will pay with his life. I agree completely. Naruto, what have those bastards in Kumo done to you? Thought Sarutobi sadly when he saw the young blonde glare at him. I swear, Naruto, no matter what it takes, you will be returned to your one true home here in Konoha. Turning his attention back to the fight at hand, Sarutobi saw Sasuke use a combo he called Lion's Barrage to finish and win the match. Winner, Sasuke Uchiha, said Hayate after checking Yoroi and finding him unconscious. Kakashi was about to take Sasuke away to seal the curse mark when he caught Naruto's eye. Wondering what his little brother was up to, Kakashi was about to walk over when he caught something before it hit his face. Looking at the piece of paper in his hand, he noticed that it had a seal drawn on it. Looking back to the blonde for an explanation, he saw him gesture to the paper in his hand, and then to the approaching Sasuke. Getting the meaning, Kakashi nodded before leaving with Sasuke to seal the curse mark. What was that you gave Kakashi, Naruto? Asked Darui after the short interaction between brothers. He had an idea, but he wanted to make sure. Kakashi may not be the best at sealing, but he's good enough to seal whatever is affecting the emo quickly. I don't know about you all, but I would rather not have my secret stolen by the bastard and his newly awakened Sharingan. The seal I gave Kakashi was a basic Uzumaki seal that will suppress Sasuke's chakra until it is removed, and it can't be removed except by the one that placed the seal, the one who made it, or a seal master with knowledge of the Uzumaki style, said Naruto as he turned his head to the screen when it made a beeping noise. It was scrambling through names again before stopping on the next two competitors. Will Shikamaru, Nara, and Kinsuke please come down, said Hayate after looking at the board. The girl from the Odo team that had made her teammate quit, jumped down to the floor and waited for the lazy genius to get down there. Man, this is so troublesome. Why do I have to fight a girl? Asked Shikamaru as he started walk towards Kin and Hayate with bored look on his face. So we finally get to see the heir to one of Konoha's most powerful clans fight, huh? This should be interesting, said Karui from her spot on the wall. Maybe not as interesting as you think. The Naras are known geniuses, true, but they are also known to be some of the laziest people on the planet. From what I knew of Shikamaru before I left, he's considered a genius even among his clansmen, but he is also the laziest, said Naruto with his arms crossed as he watched the shadow user with a critical eye. He'll win, but the fight won't be that interesting. True to what Naruto said, the fight wasn't that interesting or eventful. At the beginning it looked like Shikamaru would lose when he fell for Kin's Senbon Genjutsu combination. The only real surprise was when Shikamaru managed to catch Kin in his shadow while still disoriented from her Genjutsu. Once he had her trapped, the fight was over. Using his shadow, he made Kin bang her head on the wall behind her, knocking her unconscious and ending the fight. Once Shikamaru made it back to his team and Kin was taken to the infirmary, the screen started to shuffle through the remaining names again before stopping on the next competitors, and bringing a smirk to the faces of the Kumo team. Chapter 7. So, I'm up next, huh? Said Karui as she watched her opponent, Yoroi's other teammate Misumi, jump down to the floor ready to fight. So sensei, what do you say? Don't hold back, it's time to send a message to Konoha that if they want Naruto back they'll have one hell of a fight on their hands, said Darui, smirking at their wide-eyed faces that soon turned into evil smirks at finally being allowed to go all out. Got it, said Karui before jumping over the railing and landing across from Misumi. He was dressed in the similar outfit to his teammates, only his seemed to be a combination of the both. He had the purple bodysuit that all of them wore, and the purple masks like Yoroi, but he had clear glasses like Kabuto. The third match, Misumi Tsurugi vs Karui, fighters ready, said Hayate as he received a nod from both of them. Then let the third match begin. I suggest you give up now. Once I unleash my technique you are finished, said Misumi in an arrogant tone. Not gonna happen, Kumo ninja are taught to never give up and to never let their comrades down. She glanced over at her team from the corner of her eye and gave a small smile when she saw them giving her proud smiles. I won't let my team down, so I will win this match. This seemed to anger Misumi since he charged forward with a sloppy backhand. Blocking the poor strike, Karui moved to draw her katana only to have Misumi's arm start to twist around her arm, and the rest of his body wrapped around her holding her in place with her hand inches from her blade. I've dislocated every joint in my body, and using my chakra I can control it to wrap around anything, said Misumi from behind Karui. Now give up, or I'll snap your neck. This seemed to unnerve many of the Konoha genin. They never thought one of their own could be so cruel. Many of them glanced at the Kumo team to see how they reacted to their teammates' life being threatened. Even the Hokage looked. To the complete surprise of everyone, they were smirking, and the smirks didn't exactly make anyone feel good. I've got to stop the match, thought Hayate as he was about to raise his hand and end it before a voice stopped him. Don't even think about stopping this match, said Naruto with his fox smirk still in place, it's just beginning. Everyone looked at him like he was insane. His teammate was about to die, and he told the proctor, let the match continue. Hayate, who was about to stop the match anyway, was brought out his thoughts when he heard a scream, a male scream. Misumi, who was still wrapped around Karui, was screaming, and it looked like he had little electric sparks coming from his body every now and then. Not being able to take the pain anymore, Misumi removed himself from Karui and put some distance between them so he could recover. What the hell was that? Screamed Misumi, who was finding it hard to move any part of his body. Clever girl, said Kakashi as he appeared with his Sharingan out watching the match. What's clever, Kakashi? Asked Asuma while everyone else turned to Kakashi for an explanation. It's simple actually, she used her lightning-based chakra and forced it out through all of her chakra points at once, creating a small electric field around her body, shocking anything in range, said Kakashi as he lowered his headband over his Sharingan. I'll to ask her if she can teach me that when I leave this village to be with my brother, thought Kakashi with a small smile gracing his lips. Back on the floor, Karui was smirking at the down form of Misumi, as he tried and failed to control his body. Sorry, was that a little much for you? Asked Karui, her voice laced with sarcasm. We don't let our strength go to our heads, but that doesn't mean we can't make others think that we do, thought Karui as she drew her katana and got into a stance. She waited until Misumi was able to actually stand on his own strength after some of the lightning left his system. The second Misumi was able to stand, though wobbly, Karui made her move. Charging in, she waited until she was a few feet away from her opponent before she raised her katana so it was level with the ground in front of her face. When she was 3 feet away, she jumped slightly and began to spin at high speeds, appearing as a black and gray whirlwind. She landed a few feet behind Misumi with her sword still in the same position. She swung the blade behind her and started sheathing it. When the hilt clicked after it hit the sheath, Misumi suddenly exploded in a shower of blood and organs. His body had been sliced in several places and was leaking blood like a river. Some of his appendages were scattered in the expanding pool of his own blood, and the originally white skin was turning a sickening orange from the blood. Kumo-style whirlwind dance, said Karui softly, but it was heard by everyone in the arena. The Konoha genin were looking the scene before them and were having varying reactions. Neji, Tenten, and Lee were looking at it with a somewhat disgusted look, but otherwise weren't affected by it. Shikamaru's normally bored expression was one of shock and terror combined as he swallowed the rising vomit. Choji, who had been eating a bag of chips, was currently throwing up in his chip bag, silently vowing never to eat another chip again. Ino and Sakura were pale white at the sight, and were barely able to remain standing because of their shaky knees. Neither was vomiting, because they never really ate, so they didn't have anything to throw up. Sai still had his neutral expression, though it was slightly faltered by the look of disgust that slightly crept onto his face. I will have to inform Danzo-sama of this, was the one thought that went through his head. I think I win, said Karui, with a bored expression on her face. Many of the Konoha genin thought she was crazy. She had just killed someone and didn't even bat an eyelash at it. Winner, Karui, said Hayate after he broke out of his stupor. He had thought that the Kunoichi would have lost since things seemed one-sided in the beginning, but he was thrown for a loop when she killed her opponent and acted so calm about it. Once the mess is cleaned up, we will start the next match. It took a few minutes before the remains of Misumi could be removed, but after the body was disposed of, the screen started scrolling through names again. It seemed that this one was taking a little longer than the others, and the rookie 9 were holding their breath hoping they didn't end up fighting the remaining blondes of the Kumo team. The screen finally stopped on the next combatants, and gasps were heard from the Konoha rookies. Will Sakura Haruo and Ino Yamanaka please come down? Both Kunoichis made their way down to the floor, each slightly surprised that they would fight each other. Are the both of you ready? Receiving a nod from both of them, Hayate brought his hand down. Begin. So how do you think this one will go, Naruto-kun? Asked Yugito to the team profiler and strategist. Poorly, neither of them have hardly any skill. From what Kakashi told me, they have barely improved since their days in the academy, both only know the taijutsu they were taught in the academy, and neither really have any ninjutsu. Sakura can barely use the 3 academy jutsus, and Ino can barely use those, but she also has the first of her clan jutsu as well. All in all, I'd say that this match will end in a draw, said Naruto with his eyes closed. His face contorted in concentration, and his team became slightly worried. Naruto never really had to focus to come up with excellent strategies. If he was concentrating this hard, something was off. What's wrong, Naruto? Asked Darui as he moved to stand next to his student and placed a hand on his shoulder. Karui stepped up his other side and looked at her friend with concern. Something was troubling Naruto, and it couldn't be good. Yugito got off the rail and wrapped her arms around her boyfriend's neck to help calm him down if he got worked up. Naruto's eyes suddenly snapped open with shock evident in the ocean blue orbs. So that's what I've been feeling, he muttered before looking over at the redhead from the Suna team. Are you certain that's him, Kurama? Naruto asked to his furry tenant. Yeah, Kit, that's him. I'd know that chakra anywhere. That's definitely Shikaku's host, was the answer he received. I'll try and talk to him after the exams. Be cautious around him, Kit. Shikaku may be a bloodthirsty killer, but he knows his place among the 9. When you do talk to him, flare my chakra. That should be enough to make him back off from killing you. Right? Thought Naruto before cutting to Link with the fox. Be cautious around the redhead with the gourd. He's like Yugito-chan, and he has a demon, the one-tailed raccoon Shikaku. This caught his team off guard. Of all the things they were expecting him to say, it wasn't that there was another Jinchuriki in the exams. Alright, Naruto, Yugito, even though Kurama and Minato are stronger than Shikaku, fight him with caution if you fight him at all. Karui, if you face him in the finals, I want you to forfeit, but if his status as a Jinchuriki hasn't been found out, tell them he is one. That should cause some problems for Konoha, knowing the villagers' hatred of Jinchuriki, said Darui as he shot a quick glance to the Hokage and saw him frowning at all of them except Naruto. With the Hokage same time. Sarutobi was watching this poor example of Kunoichi ability and was wondering how those two had graduated the academy. That's right, the damn civilian council managed to get control of the academy. Turning away from the match, Sarutobi turned to look at his favorite blonde, only to see him with his eyes closed and a look of extreme concentration on his face. It looked like he was fighting something. He must be fighting the loyalty seal. Come on, Naruto, you can break it, don't let them control you. Thought the cage in excitement and worry. His thoughts turned dark when he saw the Kumo Jounin place a hand on Naruto's shoulder and the blonde-haired slut wrapped her arms around him. They must be trying to reinforce the seal. Come on, Naruto. His hopes raised when he saw the blonde's eyes snap open with a look of shock on his face. While he looked around the arena, he broke free. Sarutobi was considering going over and taking the blonde away from the Kumo bastards, when he saw him start to talk to them again. Damn it, they must have reinforced the seal somehow. Don't worry, Naruto, you will be back in your rightful home soon. Sarutobi turned his attention back to the fight to see that it had ended in a double knock. Since neither combatant can continue, the fourth match is a draw, said Hayate after checking both girls. Kakashi and Asuma jumped down and brought the girls up to the platform and sat them next to each other. Kakashi was looking at his two students and couldn't help but frown. Both of them don't have any skills, they can only do the absolute basics, and they never even try to train. Why the hell did I pass them during the bell test? Thought Kakashi before turning to face the screen again. It started scrolling names again before stopping on the next fighters. Will Shino Barame and Kankuro of the desert come down for the 5th match? Shino made his way down to the floor slowly with his hands in his pockets, while Kankuro mimicked his actions. So a bug using a Barame versus a puppeteer, judging from the shape of that thing on his back and what village he comes from. This match could go either way as it is right now. Though, the advantage is probably with the Barame at the moment, said Naruto with his arms still crossed and an interested smirk on his face. Why do you think the Barame has the advantage? Puppeteers are tricky opponents and are good at coming up with a plan on the spot, said Karui as she watched the two go at it. Kankuro was using his puppet skills to perfection and keeping Shino at a distance. It looks like that Kankuro guy has this one wrapped up. The Barame can't even get in close enough to strike, said Yugito with a smirk. Don't count an Barame out so soon. They may be mostly mid-range fighters, but they are known for their calm calculating minds as much as they are their bugs, said Darui with his arms crossed much like Naruto. True to their predictions, Shino had won the match. Though he had taken some hits from Kankuro's poisoned weapons, the insects in his body had been able to eat and neutralize all of it. Things seemed to be going in Kankuro's favor at first, but he failed to notice that Shino had planted a female beetle on him, and because of that many other male beetles landed on his body and started draining his chakra slowly. Before Kankuro knew what had happened, his chakra was gone, his puppet was on the ground useless, and he had a kunai to his throat. Told you so, said Naruto and Darui at the same time. Karui and Yugito just pouted at being wrong again and turned to face the screen to see who would be going next. The next match caused many people, even those not from Konoha, to gasp in surprise. The competitors were Lee and Neji Hyliga. This should be good, said Naruto with a smirk. With Team Guy. Guy was currently cursing his luck with thoughts that would make a drunken sailor blush scarlet. Guy-sensei, they can't really expect Neji and Lee to fight each other, can they? Asked Tenten with worry clearly evident in her voice. She glanced at her teammates and noticed that neither of them were acting like their usual selves. Lee was particularly quiet with a determined and serious expression on his normally happy and carefree face. She knew that Lee considered Neji as his rival like Guy considered Kakashi his, but it seemed that Lee took his rivalry with their teammate much more seriously than their sensei did. Neji's normal scowl had been replaced by a look of mild shock mixed in with a sinister smirk. He had been itching to face Lee in a battle just to put the annoying shinobi in his place, and to prove to him that no matter how hard one tried, no one could defy fate. Unfortunately, Tenten, they can. Once the second part of the exams is completed, there are no teams because the final part of the exams is a tournament-style battle between everyone who passed the previous two exams. Even if two competitors were siblings or relatives of any fashion, they would be forced to fight one another, said Guy in a somber tone. He knew this match wouldn't end well, no matter who the winner was. Before anything else could be said, both Neji and Lee jumped over the railing and moved so they were standing across from one another. Everyone could feel the tension in the air as the two teammates stared each other down, both ready to fight to prove their beliefs. With Team 20. This has got to be tearing Guy Naizen apart, his most prized student and his most gifted student going head to head. No matter who wins this match, Guy Naizen will be the victim, said Naruto with his head bowed slightly. Before he had left the village, Guy had introduced him to a young Lee who he claimed would one day be his successor as a taijutsu master. Though he wasn't in the same category as his other siblings, Lee was still a very close person to Naruto, and he vowed to make sure he survived this match. In the arena. The 6th match. Rock Lee vs Neji Hyliga, are you both ready? Asked Hayate, receiving 2 nods in return. Very well then, let the 6th match begin, he said as he jumped out of the way of the two combatants. Lee didn't waste any time. The second Hayate was clear, he charged at Neji with burning determination in his eyes. Neji anticipated this, and had already started getting into his Gyukin stance before Hayate had even started the match. Moving with speed that surprised even his team, Neji batted away the incoming punch, and sent a Gyukin strike at Lee's left shoulder. Seeing the oncoming threat, Lee used the momentum of his punch being blocked to roll out of the way of the strike, and put some distance between the two of them. "Why do you even bother to fight? Fate has already decided the winner of this match," said Neji as he watched his opponent with a scowl. "I fight because I will prove that hard work triumphs over natural genius," said Lee in an oddly serious voice that surprised those that knew him. "No one can defy fate. We are each given a path to follow at birth, and we must follow it obediently. You were born a failure, once a failure always a failure," said Neji as he activated his Byakugan, and got into his Gyukin stance again. Lee frowned but didn't say anything. Instead he reached into his orange leg warmers and pulled out 2 weights before throwing them at Neji's feet. Said Hyuga was confused by this move and wasn't prepared for the results. When the weights met the floor, the ground underneath him cracked and exploded with dust. Neji was slightly shocked that Lee had that much weight on him at all times. He knew his teammate trained with weights like their sensei, but he never expected him to have that much. Lee took advantage of the cover the dust provided and vanished from sight in an impressive burst of speed. The only ones who could see him were those who were used to fighting at high speeds, and those with gifted eyes. "Damn, Lee got fast. I can't believe that he forced me to use your eyes just to even see him." Kurama, thought Naruto as he followed Lee's movements with his red-slitted eyes with a black sclera. "Same here, Kit. He's nowhere near the speeds the Bajal are capable of when we fight. But he is definitely one of the fastest humans I've ever seen," thought Kurama with surprise evident in his thoughts. Neji was sure he would have lost his head if it wasn't for his Byakugan. The kick that passed over his head could have easily torn through a tree like a hot knife through butter. Not wanting to take the chance of Lee getting another try with one of those kicks, he spun around and launched a quick barrage of Gyukin strikes to keep Lee on the defensive. It seemed to work as Lee couldn't get enough distance to use his speed to attack and was forced to continuously dodge the barrage of lethal strikes. With Guy and Tenten. Tenten was having an inner battle with herself. She couldn't decide who to root for. On one hand was Lee, who always seemed to brighten her day no matter how bad things got, and on the other was her secret crush Neji. She just couldn't decide who she wanted to win, so she decided that as long as both of them survived this match she could live with that no matter who won. Guy was having a similar battle, though his kept leaning more and more towards his future successor. He knew that the Gyukin's most lethal aspect of attacking chakra was negated by the fact that Lee's chakra system was so messed up. However, there was still the physical aspect of the attack to worry about. "Please Lee, if it looks hopeless just surrender," thought Guy as he continued to watch as his 2 students fought. In the arena. "Damn, I can't use my speed in this tight space. I need to get some space so I can finish this," thought Lee as he continued to dodge the dangerous taijutsu of the Hyuga clan. He got his chance when Neji stumbled on the rubble that his weights caused. Not wasting a second he jumped back and vanished in a blur. Cursing under his breath, Neji spun around and used a Gyukin-enhanced palm to block the roundhouse Lee aimed at chest. Wincing at the pain the palm caused in his leg, Lee used his impressive leg strength to rotate around Neji's palm and delivered a devastating kick to the side of the Hyuga genius's head. Neji was sent sprawling because of the kick and didn't stop until he collided with the opposite wall in a heap. Getting back to his feet, Neji charged at Lee, while said taijutsu user moved to meet him halfway. They met in a flurry of taijutsu strikes, each of them unleashing a barrage of strikes from their own style. With Team 20. "Something's not right," Naruto muttered under his breath. He looked at the match closer, specifically Neji, trying to figure out what was wrong. At first glance everything seemed normal, well, as normal as a taijutsu match between 2 of Konoha's most feared styles can be. The answer came to him when he noticed Neji slightly changed the trajectory of one of his Gyukin strikes. "Oh shit," thought Naruto as he quickly moved towards his spandex wearing sibling, garnering curious looks from his team and a hopeful one from the Hokage. "Guy," he said once he was close, catching the attention of his brother and the Kunoichi in training, "you have to make Lee forfeit the match now." Guy was surprised. From what he could tell, the match was fairly balanced, with neither of his students getting the upper hand. However, he knew that his little brother would never try to sabotage a friend. It just wasn't in him to do that. But that still left the question as to why he wanted Lee to forfeit when there was still a chance for him to win. Guy, you have make him forfeit now, if not he's going to die. Naruto tried again, this time with a little more urgency, and if Guy heard it right, fear in his voice. Now Guy was worried. Naruto didn't fear easily, but there were certain things that absolutely terrified him that he knew of, one of which was losing someone close to him. Taking another quick look towards the taijutsu match going on, he turned to his little brother with a concerned look. "What's wrong, Naruto? How is Lee going to die?" Naruto sighed. He knew this was going to be the hardest part for Guy, to know that one of your students was trying to kill another student you viewed as a son. Neji is using the Gyuken's physical aspect to target Lee's heart. He's slightly altering weaker strikes so as not to draw attention to himself. He's already landed about 5 strikes. If he lands another 2, Lee will die, Naruto said solemnly. Guy looked a mixture of shock and rage. That one of his students could be trying to kill their teammate was unforgivable to him. "Lee!" he shouted, grabbing the attention of everyone in the arena along with the 2 combatants. "Lee, you must stop now. Forfeit the match. You have already proven that you are strong, that's all that matters." Lee looked at his sensei with confusion, unfortunately giving Neji an opening. Charging another Gyuken palm strike, he launched it forward and nailed Lee in the chest. Lee was sent flying across the arena before crashing into the wall on the far side with a sickening crunch. Wanting to finish this now, Neji charged forward at speeds that could match a seasoned shonen, with his right hand poised to deliver the finishing blow. Guy and the other jounins were about to move to stop the boy before anything else could happen, but before they could even move, someone beat them to the punch. Naruto stood in front of Lee holding Neji in what could only be called an execution stance. Neji was bent forward slightly with Naruto standing on his right. His right arm was being held straight out behind Naruto's back, held by said blonde's left hand. Naruto had his ninjato in the reverse grip poised at Neji's throat, ready to sever the annoying bastard's head from his body. Nobody could believe what they were seeing. They knew just from the stance Neji had taken as he charged at the down Lee that he was going to kill him. But they had never expected a foreign ninja to be the one to save Lee from his own teammate. "I never did like the Hyuga clan, but to attack a fellow shinobi, your own teammate, that's low even for a Hyuga," said Naruto, his tone sending shivers down the spines of everyone present, his team and siblings the only exception. "I wonder why Itachi Naizen would kill of his own clan for their arrogance when the Hyugas have them beat in that department. With the Hokage, Naruto seems to have a friendship with Lee. Maybe I can use this to my advantage," thought Sarutobi as he watched the scene playing out before him. If Naruto had another person close to him in the village, one his age no less, it would make things easier to get the boy back in the village. Now all we need to do to make sure Naruto stays in the village is to remove that useless slut that Kumo has put on his arm. Now what is the best way to do this? Back in the arena, Lee watched the scene before him in shock. He couldn't believe that his own teammate would go so far as to try and kill him. He was about to say something before his chest erupted in pain, and he fell to the floor screaming in agony. This seemed to break everyone out of their thoughts of what had transpired, and had the jounin moving to see what was wrong. Hayate had called for the medics the second the scream left Lee's mouth and moved to relieve Naruto's hold on Neji. Guy and the other jounin all landed in the arena, and split up to help where they were most needed. Guy and Anko moved to the downed form of Lee, Guy to offer support and watch over his surrogate son, and Anko to help the medics with her expert knowledge of human anatomy. Kakashi, Asuma and Kurena moved to help Hayate with the situation Neji currently found himself in. Hayate and Asuma stayed back as they watched their fellow jounin convince the blonde shinobi to release Neji. "Naruto, I know you're upset about Neji's actions towards Lee, but if you kill him now then things will only get worse for you. He's not worth your time, little brother. Let us take care of this," said Kakashi as he watched Naruto internally debate whether or not to listen. He sighed in relief when his brother nodded in agreement and vanished in a burst of speed, leaving Neji to fall flat on his face. Kurena reacted immediately and put the arrogant Hyuga in a genjutsu to keep him asleep for the remainder of the prelims so he couldn't cause any more problems. Hayate called a match, said Kakashi after he saw Guy leave with the medics carrying Lee. Winner, Neji Hyuga, said Hayate as he made everyone else clear the arena so that the matches could continue. Yugito had her arms wrapped around her boyfriend's waist trying to calm him down before anything else pissed him off. When they heard Hayate announce the next match was going to be between Lee's other teammate and the girl from the Suna team, she took advantage of it and tried to take her boyfriend's mind off of what just happened. So Naruto-kun, what do you think about this match? She knew that when he was concentrating on something that he liked, it was a hell of a lot easier to keep him calm. Naruto smiled slightly at the question. He knew what his girlfriend was trying to do, and who was he to deny her? Well, from what we've seen, and from what Guy Naizen told us, his team has no ninjutsu whatsoever. Lee is a taijutsu user for the sole reason he can't use chakra. Neji, as we just witnessed, relies solely on the Hyuga Jiken style to fight. Tenten, though she has trained well in taijutsu, is a weapons user at heart, and I doubt anything will ever change that. That Temurai girl appears to be a wind mistress in training, if that fan on her back is anything to go by. All in all, Temurai is going to win. She is the worst possible opponent Tenten could have drawn. Her skills and using wind will prevent Tenten's weapons from ever getting anywhere near her, said Naruto as he physically relaxed into Yugito's embrace. The rest of Team 20 was once again impressed with their teammates' students' analytical skills. They were with him when his siblings had told him about their students and about more of the higher-ranking shinobi that he would most likely run into while in the village. Kurena, Guy and Kakashi hadn't said much about their team's just basic skills, and what their overall ranking was. Even the three of them working together wouldn't have been able to analyze what Naruto did in a matter of seconds. I don't want to have to bring this up, but we need a plan for after the prelims are over, said Karui as she glanced towards the aging Hokage when she finished. Naruto nodded in understanding. He had a feeling that once these prelims were over, the shit was going to hit the fan, big time. The old man is up to something. I can tell by the look on his face he has a plan set up that could cause some serious problems for us, said Naruto as he glanced at the aged Kage with a calculating eye. He could tell his posture tensed as the matches progressed, meaning that whatever he had planned would start almost as soon as the prelims finished. He noticed that Sarutobi glanced in multiple directions rather quickly, but he noticed who he was looking at, all of the Konoha Kunoichi present. Judging by who the old man glanced at, things are not going to end well for anyone, especially if Yugito-chan gets wind of it, thought Naruto with slight shudder. His girlfriend could be as powerful and as terrifying as a Kage-level shinobi when she was pissed, and not even Kurama or Matatabi would dare try and get in her way. Naruto looked toward the match to see that his prediction had come true and Temurai had indeed won. He had one last thought before the screen showed the next two competitors. I think it's safe to assume the old man has already signed his death warrant. Chapter 8. We will now decide the 8th match, said Hayate as the screen started flashing through the names of the remaining 8 genin. The tension seemed to mount as the screen continued to speed through names without end. All the remaining genin were tensed, ready for their turn to fight, well, all except a few. Gaara just stood motionless, not caring if he was the next to fight. He knew that whoever he fought, he would satisfy his mother with their blood. Dasi just stared at the screen with a passive look on his face. The only ones left are the Ichibi Jinchuriki, the Hyuga heiress, and Akimishi and Inuzuka, that pale Konoha genin, 2 Kumo genin, and myself. My chances are good against any of the Konoha genin. I don't stand a chance against the Ichibi, and the 2 Kumo genin don't look that strong. However, their teammate proved that they are not to be underestimated, though they still won't be able to defeat me with my sound attacks, thought Dasu as he glanced around at the remaining competitors. Kiba was leaning against the railing with an arrogant smirk on his face. In his mind, he believed no one could beat him because he was the alpha. Haha, none of these guys can beat me. I just hope I don't end up fighting Hinata-chan, he thought, glancing at his only female teammate. Though I have to say that blonde bitch from Kumo looks like she'd be fun, he thought with a perverted grin as he looked Yugito up down from the corner of his eye. Hinata watched the screen with the patented superior Hyuga look on her face. Ever since she had met Kurena, she had tried to imitate her Ice Queen persona, and in doing so had started following her clan's beliefs more and more. Eventually she had become a younger female version of her father in terms of skill, and the typical superiority complex her clan had multiplied tenfold inside of her. It doesn't matter who I face, they will lose, especially those bastards from Kumo. I'll make them regret trying to kidnap me. Sai stood with his sensei and teammates with an unreadable look on his face. He had been quietly observing the matches as they progressed, noting anyone who could be of value to his master. The Uchiha was an obvious choice, as his master had wanted a pure-blooded Uchiha under his control for a while now. The branch Hyliga would be of value, however, because of the caged bird seal he wouldn't be able to pass on the Byakugan. So far not many people here have something to offer Danzo-sama. The Uchiha and the Hyliga have promise, but we need others as well. Although that Kumo team holds promise if the offer members are just as strong as their teammate. Choji, unlike all the other remaining Konoha genin, was completely oblivious to what was going on around him, instead choosing to focus solely on the bag of chips he was currently shoveling into his mouth. Yugito was watching the screen from the corner of her eye, while she focused mainly on the Konoha Kunoichi that were present. Like Naruto, she had noticed the glances the old Kage had sent towards the young Kunoichi of his village. There was a strange glint in his eyes when he looked at them, but it wasn't perverted or something similar. It was a glint that held what appeared to be a calculative and plotting look. If any of those useless hussies even so much as look at my Naruto-kun, they won't be able to give birth when I'm through with them, she thought, letting her possessive cat nature show for a second as she tightened her hold on her boyfriend. I agree, kitten, if they try anything with our mates it will be hell to pay. But just to make sure they can't take away your mate's virginity, you should drag him off into a closet and not leave it for a few days. Once these prelims are over, came the demonic and completely perverted voice of Minato as she sent images of her host and Naruto doing some very naughty things in a closet. Mata, I will not do that. We're only 13 for Kamisaki. We won't be doing anything like that for a few years. Replied Yugito, only to mentally slap herself as Minato started demanding that she tell what her plans were and sending even more images into her head of an older version of Naruto, and herself doing even more naughty things. Naruto had his eyes closed as he tried to decide on the best plan of action for when his match came up. I could easily kill any of the remaining competitors if we're to use your chakra Kurama, however that would make things a lot harder on us later on down the line. If I were to cripple them, then it would send a message that my team and I are not to be messed with, but that would probably make the old man panic and do something drastic, and that's something we don't need at the moment. He continued to think of the best way to go about winning his match until a familiar demonic voice came from his mind. Why are so concerned with the old man, thinking you are too far gone to save? I thought you wanted him to leave you alone, and the best way to do that is to send a message that he simply can't ignore. True, Kurama, however, remember what Granny Mito's letter said? The vault containing all of the knowledge of my clan was entrusted and hidden by my father's clan. If we ever want a chance to regain the knowledge that once belonged to my clan, then I will need to get access to the Namikaze compound and try and find a clue as to where they hid the vault. The only one who knows where the compound is the old man, and if my plan for gaining access to it is to work, then I need him to still believe he can save me from Kumo, replied Naruto, getting a nod of understanding from his foxy tenant. True, Kit, and if your plan works it will not only grant you the knowledge of your mother's clan, but your father's as well. It will be a slap to the face of this hellhole of a village when they learn that they have lost the knowledge and skills that belong to the Uzumaki and the Namikaze. That is truly a move worthy of a fox, thought Kurama before they were brought out of their planning by the sound of the screen beeping, signaling it had decided on the next competitors. Will Kiba, Inuzuka and Yugito please come down for the 8th match? Said Hayate as he looked away from the screen and started looking at the remaining competitors. Kiba grinned at the thought of fighting the hot Kumo bitch. Now was his chance to force her to submit to him and to claim her as his. He jumped over the rail with Shikamaru following close behind him. Unknown to either of the partner in Yuzuka's, Kiba had released a small amount of pheromones that didn't go unnoticed by a certain blonde-haired shinobi. With Team 20, Naruto was about to give Yugito a kiss for good luck, But as he turned to face her, something in the air tickled his nose. Taking a quick sniff trying to figure out what the strange scent was, he was suddenly overcome by a possessive nature as he pulled Yugito to him and held her tight. "What's wrong, Naruto-kun?" asked Yugito before the scent of pheromones hit her nose as well. Now she was no stranger to pheromones, as she released quite a lot of them whenever Naruto unleashed his power. Minato had explained to her at a young age, unfortunately, about pheromones and the effects they can have on the body. She could tell by the scent that these pheromones came from a dog, but they didn't have any love or compassion in them. Just lust and a little bit of arrogance. Thankfully, her body had gotten used to the feeling of much stronger pheromones when she and Naruto almost ravaged each other when they were both using their cloaks in training. She easily ignored the pheromones, but she couldn't stop the delightful shiver that ran down her spine at her boyfriend's words. "Yugito-chan, don't let that mutt lay a finger on you, or I won't be able to stop myself from killing the little bastard and then taking you to some secluded location and ravaging you," said Naruto, with his voice taking on a demonic and lustful tone. Thankfully only she heard what he said, or their sensei might have something else to say about that idea. Nodding in acknowledgement, Yugito decided to try and reassure her boyfriend by giving him a kiss that could be considered a little indecent in public, but she could care less. "Don't worry. He won't get the chance to even get close enough to me to touch me." With that, she jumped over the railing and landed in front of Hayate, with Kiba standing across from her with an arrogant smirk on his face and his eyes roaming over her body, making her shiver in disgust. "Mata, if I can't finish this mutt by myself in less than 5 minutes, I'm going to use the cloak and try the first of your jutsu out," thought Yugito to her perverted tenant. "I agree, kitten. Judging by the look in this mongrel's eyes, he thinks he can make us submit to him. Let's show him what we're made of." The 8th match, Kiba Inuzuka vs Yugito ni. "Are the both of you ready?" asked Hayate, receiving a confident nod from Kiba and a harsh glare from Yugito that had him suppressing a shudder and silently praying that he never pissed this particular Kunoichi off. "Begin," he shouted before getting the hell out of the way, knowing this particular match was going to be a shit fest. "Now what's a hot girl like you doing with a loser like Blondie over there?" "I'm the one you should be with since I'm an alpha," said Kiba, releasing his animal dominance. Is he seriously trying to make me submit to him with this pathetic dominance? Naruto-kun lets out more dominance in his sleep. If this is his maximum dominance level, then he is no alpha, thought Yugito before she charged at the stunned form of Kiba. When she was in range, she spun around and nailed the arrogant mutt with a strong heel to the face. Shikamaru just stood there, stunned that his partner's dominance could be thrown off so easily. He turned to look at the girl who had just knocked his partner out and felt the dominance coming from her. He wasn't as stupid as his partner to think they were alpha status, but he could tell that this girl was an alpha female not to be messed with. Hayate stood stunned at how the Kumo Kunoichi had easily defeated the heir of the Inuzuka clan. If she could defeat a clan heir so easily and her teammate could kill one of our shinobis without breaking a sweat, this team is not to be messed with. If his teammates are anything to go by, Naruto should easily defeat any of the remaining contestants, thought Hayate before checking Kiba and finding him knocked out cold. "Winner Yugito ni," said Hayate as the medics came and took Kiba away. Yugito jumped back up to her team and was met with a searing kiss from her boyfriend that left her breathless and lightheaded. "Way to put the mutt in his place," said Karui as her two teammates continued to look into each other's eyes. "Okay, that's enough for now. We don't need you two getting it on in front of everyone," she said rather loudly, producing blushes from all of the rookie 9 save for Sasuke, who was fuming at not being to activate his Sharingan, and Sai, who just kept his impassive expression. Kakashi was giggling like crazy. He took out a small notepad and started writing stuff down with the intention of sending this to his favorite author. "With the Hokage. She seems to be fairly skilled. Getting rid of her will be harder than I anticipated. But nothing my Anbi can't handle," thought Sarutobi as he watched the scene of Naruto and the Kumo bitch trying to eat each other's faces. "Soon, Naruto, soon you shall be returned to your true home here in Konoha, and nothing will get in my way." Back in the arena. "The 9th match will be between Dasukinito and Gaara of the Desert," said Hayate as said competitors San Shunshinad and jumped over the railing respectively. Once they were both standing across from one another, Hayate gave them the signal to begin while jumping away. Dasu wasted no time and charged Gaara while pulling up his right sleeve, revealing his melody arm ready to strike. Gaara didn't even try to dodge, and when Dasu was in striking distance, sand shot out of his guard and caught the sound genin in a cocoon of sand. "Mother will have your blood," said Gaara in his deadly monotone, while raising his right arm with his palm facing the trapped Dasu. "Now die," he said before closing his hand into a fist and crushing Dasu before he even had a chance to scream. With Team 20. So that's what Shukaku grants his host, the ability to control sand, though I have a feeling that he is only scratching the surface with his sand abilities, said Naruto as watched Gaara mercilessly kill Dasu before returning to his place in between his siblings. "You're right, Kit. When the sage and his son gave us our power, we each chose a different skill to specialize in. Shikaku chose to wield the power of sand and created many jutsu using this unique skill. His container has only scratched the surface of what Shikaku is truly capable of," thought Kurama before he laid back down for a nap. "Lazy fox," thought Naruto before he returned his attention to the screen that had just stopped on the next two fighters. In the arena. "Will Hinata Hyuga and Choji Akimishi please come down for the 10th match?" called Hayate as he glanced at the screen. Said Hyuga. Eris jumped over the rail and stood in front of Hayate with the patented Hyuga smirk on her face. Choji, of the other hand, tried to hide behind the rails before Asuma bribed him with bar BK to get him to fight. "Fighters ready?" Getting two nods, he brought his hand down before jumping back to safety begin. Hinata wasted no time and charged forward with a barrage of Gyuken strikes. Choji tried to dodge as many as he could, but a few managed to meet their mark on his body, namely his legs. Hinata jumped back, seeing that her opponent was all but finished now that he couldn't dodge. "Why don't you just go ahead and surrender? You're no match any Hyuga, especially not the heiress of the clan," she said with the classic Hyuga death glare. Poor Choji didn't know what to do. He could see that he had no chance of winning this match, not with the condition his leg was in, but he also didn't want to disappoint his sensei, plus all that bar BK was a very tempting reason to continue. In the end, he raised his hand and spoke in a resigned voice. "Proctor, I forfeit the match." Hinata's smirk grew, if that was possible, when she heard that. It just reinforced her belief that she was untouchable because of who she was. With Team 20. "What a bitch," said Yugito as she watched the two Konoha ninja walk back to their respective teams. She couldn't help but notice the scowl on Kurena's face as she looked at her only female student. I guess that's why she doesn't mind leaving her team behind. The only decent one is the Ibarame, while his teammates are both arrogant pricks. So that's the heiress of the Hyuga clan. Not much of a Kunoichi if that's the attitude she shows towards her own allies, said Naruto as he glanced at the only remaining competitor other than himself. Something doesn't feel right about him. Since they are the last two competitors left, will Naruto, Uzumaki and Sai please come down for the final match, said Hayate as he fought down a coughing fit. Sai jumped over the rail and landed in front of Hayate with his still expressionless face. Naruto just stood with his team with an annoyed look on his face. "Seriously? How many times do I have to tell them before they start using my true name?" screamed Naruto in his head while his eyebrow began to twitch. "Naruto Uzumaki, please come down for your match." Hayate tried once again, only succeeding in making said blonde's eyebrow twitch faster. "How many times do I have to tell you people before you get it right? It's Naruto Namikaze, you idiots!" he screamed before he jumped down to the floor, his face still displaying his annoyance. Hayate looked to the Hokage with shock and a little anger clearly written on his face. Sarutobi had personally told him that the boy's name was Uzumaki and that he was somehow related to his late sensei. Shacking off his shock, for the most part, he turned back to the two shinobi waiting for the signal to begin. "Very well, the last match, Naruto Namikaze vs Sai, are you both ready?" he asked, getting a nod from Naruto, while Sai just remained motionless. "Begin," he said, just barely jumping away before Sai lunged forward with a brush and scroll in his hands. Naruto jumped back, trying to figure out what his opponent's abilities were. A brush and a plain scroll. What the hell kind of technique could he use with those? His answer came in the form of a lion made of ink charging for him. Ink. He must infuse his chakra with the ink to control whatever he draws and use it as a weapon. Seems he's a long-range fighter and doesn't like to get in close, though with that tanto on his back he's probably skilled enough to hold his own if someone managed to get in close enough, thought Naruto as he continued to dodge the lion that Sai had created as well as a newly drawn tiger. Damn, if only I knew some water jutsu, then taking care of these drawings would be a piece of cake. How is it I'm blessed with an affinity towards every element, except the one that would make my life so much easier right now? Naruto ranted in his head as he continued to dodge the ink monsters that seemed to keep multiplying. Sei's mind. His skills don't seem to be as high as everyone expected. It would appear that Orochimaru's spy was more accurate about his skills than he thought Sai as he continued to bombard Naruto with his ink creatures. Still, if my master wants him brought under his control, then so be it. With that thought in mind, he made another ink lion before he moved his brush to the bottom of his scroll, and with a few small strokes drew the main mind control seal that would control the branch seal he would place on his target. Unfortunately for him though, Naruto noticed his slight movements. What the hell was with those small strokes at the bottom of his scroll? Thought Naruto as he continued to dodge the ink monsters, judging by the size of the strokes and the area that he used for it probably a safe bet that it's some kind of seal. Now the only question is what kind of seal. I doubt it's a storage seal, and explosive seal is a possibility if he plans to incorporate it into one of his monsters. Damn, I guess I'll have to get in close and try and see what he's planning. With that he took out his ninjato and charged headlong into the swarm of beasts, much to the shock of everyone who didn't know him. Charging wind chakra into the blade, the fox head opened and surrounded the blade a small whirlwind. Raising his right arm so it was parallel to the ground, he jumped into the air once he reached the small army of ink creatures and began spinning at extreme speeds. Cloud-style tornado blade storm, said Naruto as a tornado surrounded him and started slicing into the army of ink creatures with ease. For a brief second none of the spectators could see a thing as the ink creatures exploded into a shower of black ink. Taking advantage of the temporary distraction, Naruto moved behind Sai using speed that would have made a Jounin green with envy. Looking where he saw Sai draw that small seal, he noticed what appeared to be the starter of a seal chain. A seal chain? There aren't many things that require a seal chain, so what could he be planning? Thought Naruto as he moved back to his original position. Even if I've just started learning about seals, the Uzumaki basics covered a wide range and already started going into seal chains. Let's see, from what I know, a seal chain can be used for explosives, barriers, preservation and mind control. Though on the inside he was surprised and a little disgusted that the Hokage would try to have a mind seal placed on him, his face never betrayed his feelings as it just remained impassive. Time to end this and give Konoha another big surprise, he thought before going through a series of hand signs that his team recognized immediately. With Team 20. So he's getting serious already. Something must have pissed him off if he's already resorting to his ninjutsu, said Karui as she glanced at the Hokage from the corner of her eye. Why do I have the feeling that that old geezer is to blame for this? Because he is, said Yugito, catching the attention of her teammate and sensei. You wouldn't have noticed it unless you knew what to look for. But Naruto-kun's eyes hardened for a split second before returning to their expressionless state. I don't know what it is, but something set him off, and no doubt it involves the Hokage. That's the only reason he would be using a jutsu with his black lightning already. He's planning on giving the Hokage a heart attack and something else to worry about. He doesn't know about his lightning-style armor yet, but if he shows them he has the black lightning, they'll know he is of great importance to Kumo, and hopefully it will deter them long enough for us to come up with a plan to handle things. You're right, Yugito. Naruto knows the value of information and the element of surprise. He wouldn't reveal one of his greatest secrets and weapons to the enemy if he didn't have a plan, said Darui as he continued to watch his successor go through hand signs. In the arena. Lightning style, black lightning strike. He said as black sparks of lightning began to arc around his arm. Raising his arm so it was aimed at his emotionless opponent, a bolt of lightning blacker than an Uka's eye shot towards a stunned Sai at speeds that could match a cage. With the Hokage. Black lightning. Has Kumo gone as far as to teach him one of their most prized techniques to try and corrupt him with power? Still, this does present a problem. If Naruto wields the black lightning, then Kumo won't give him up easily. We'll have to wait for an opportunity to present itself to return Naruto to his true home, although that won't stop us from eliminating that slut that hangs of his arm. Be patient, Naruto, soon you will be home. With Kakashi, the black lightning and the lightning style armor. With him having both of those techniques in his arsenal, Kumo won't give him up at all. We can only hope that the Hokage doesn't try anything foolish, or it could lead to all-out war between Kumo and Konoha, and I already know where my allegiance would lie, thought Kakashi with a small smile towards his little brother. In the arena. Black lightning, that should be impossible, thought Sai as his face displayed an emotion for the first time in many years: fear. He hadn't felt such fear since he began his training under Danzo. He'd gone on multiple missions that would be considered suicide for most shinobi his age, and he had come back alive. But now it was clear, he was going to die and nothing could save him. All he could do was watch as the lethal jutsu made its way closer and closer to him, never once wavering in its speed or accuracy. "Forgive me, Danzo-sama, I failed my mission," were his last thoughts before the attack made contact with his chest, right where his heart was. He opened his mouth in a silent scream as the lightning spread throughout his body, turning his organs to ash. However, the lightning stopped at his chest as it pierced through his body, destroying his heart as it went. Naruto cancelled the jutsu and watched on as the lifeless body fell to its knees before falling face first onto the arena floor. There was no blood as the lightning had cauterized the gaping hole in his chest. No one breathed, no one moved. They were all too stunned at what they had just seen to do anything. Sasuke was, once again, scarred out of his mind at the power Naruto wielded. He would often still have nightmares about that day on the bridge, about the power that he had witnessed, the carnage he had seen, and the fear he had felt. He only now realized that he had only seen Naruto use one jutsu that day, and that he had decimated an army with nothing but his ninjato. Now he had seen what the blonde was truly capable of, the destruction he could cause with only one simple jutsu. He had read about that particular jutsu in the academy, and it was only a C-rank jutsu as it was designed to paralyze the target while causing minor burns on the body. That very same jutsu had just been used to punch a hole through someone's chest. Am I truly that weak compared to him? He thought as he watched the blonde walk towards his team, leaving the body in the middle of the arena. Sakura and Ino were reliving the fear they felt when they were on the bridge fighting Zabuza with this blonde and his team. After they returned from that mission, they weren't themselves for about a week. Their families tried to get them to talk about what was bothering them, but the only thing they could ever manage to get out of them was demon massacre. The only thing that had managed them to get out of their funk was for Kurena to cast a genjutsu on them that helped them forget about what they saw. Now though, all those memories were resurfacing, and the fear they felt that day returned with a vengeance as they both slumped against the wall and lost consciousness as their fear once again overwhelmed their minds. Kakashi, Kurena, Guy and Anko were all mentally congratulating their little brother on the win. The fact that he killed someone to it never even crossed their minds. If anything, it made their pride in Naruto grow that much more. It proved that he knew what it would take to be a shinobi and that he wasn't afraid about having to kill someone to fulfill his duties as a shinobi. Orochimaru was almost foaming at the mouth with what he was seeing. How had his spies not found out about this gem that would be in the exams? His main target may have been Sasuke, but this boy was proving to be a good second choice. I will deal with my spies later. For now I must find a way to mark this promising host to make sure he comes to me for power, he thought before he noticed that his old sensei was eyeing the boy similar to how he was. It seems I might have to postpone my plans for marking the boy. If Sarutobi sensei is that interested in the boy, it could be dangerous to interfere with whatever he's planning for the boy. Besides, once the invasion is over, Sarutobi will be dead, and I will have the opening I need to mark the boy. Hiruzen Sarutobi had seen many things in his time as a shinobi. He had watched his comrades fall at the hands of the enemy during the second shinobi world. He had witnessed one of Orochimaru's experiments he conducted before he fled the village. He had sent many shinobi to their deaths when he gave them a mission during the last world war. But nothing could have prepared him for the sight he had just witnessed. To see someone you consider a grandson kill one of your shinobi so easily and without so much as a hint of remorse shook him to his core. Has Kumo corrupted him so much that he doesn't even feel guilt or remorse for ending another life, especially one so young? Or has he truly severed his ties with us? No, I will not give up. Deep down, I know that he is killing himself for the actions he is committing. Forcing someone to kill one of their own, Kumo has truly fallen from grace. Winner Naruto Namikaze, said Hayate as he continued trying to get over the fact that Genin had just used a C-rank capture-based jutsu like an A-rank assassination jutsu. But his skills with a sword remind me so much of Kushina-sensei, yet he looks so much like the fourth, thought Hayate. He immediately noticed the spark of life in his eyes when he wielded his sword. It was the same spark that Kushina-sensei always had whenever she used her own katana. There is no doubt then, he must be Kushina-sensei's and the fourth son. I will have to speak to Kakashi about this revelation. If anyone would know the truth, then it would be him. Shaking off his shock and pushing his thoughts to the back of his mind for now, Sarutobi made his way down to the arena and called everyone who had won their matches down to stand in front of him. When everyone was assembled, he cleared his throat to catch their attention. Congratulations to all of you for making it this far in the exams. Now, before we begin the final part of the exams, everyone will draw the number from the box that Anko is holding to determine who will face who in the final exam. Anko stepped forward and started with her little brother before making her way down the line of Genin. Now will each of you please read off your number for Ibiki? 1 inch. 5 inches. 3 inches. 9 inches. 2 inches. 4 inches. 8 inches. 10 inches. 6 inches. 7 inches. Ibiki nodded before turning the paper he was writing on for them to see the order of the matches. First match, Naruto Namikaze vs Neji Hyuga. Second match, Sasuke Uchiha vs Shinoa Barame. Third match, Karui vs Gaara of the Desert. Fourth match, Shikamaru Nara vs Temurai of the Desert. Fifth match, Yugito Ni vs Hinata Hyuga. Now that the matches have been decided, you all will be given 1 month to train and prepare for the finals. You are all dismissed. You will be instructed where to meet after the month-long break, said Sarutobi as he watched the Shoyunin hopefuls leave with their senseis and teams. I need to speak with the council. The sooner plans are made and implemented, the sooner we will return Naruto to his one true home. Unbeknownst to him, he was being followed by a familiar person with spiky blonde hair who had plans of his own to put into effect. Whatever you're planning, you old fool, I'll make sure the boss knows about it. Chapter 9. Konohagakure no Sato Council Chambers. How did the preliminaries go, Hokage-sama? Asked Hayashi Hyuga as the other clan heads nodded in agreement. They had been called into the meeting just after the end of the prelims, as such they never got to hear what happened from their children. Sarutobi sighed as he knew that some of what he had to tell them was going to cause an outrage. Everything went smoothly for the most part, except for a few deaths, said Sarutobi as many of the civilian council raised their eyebrows at this. Being rich civilians, they were in the mindset that nothing bad could ever happen in the village so long as they had ninja there to protect them, let alone someone dying. In total we had 3 deaths, 1 from the new village Odo, and 2 from our own village. That caught everyone's attention, especially the clan heads that hadn't been able to see their children before they came to the meeting. Who all has died, Hokage-sama? Asked Choza as he tried to remain calm in front of his leader, but his instincts as a parent were starting to take over. Seeing that all of the clan heads were almost to the point of hysterics, though they hid it well, Sarutobi decided to put their minds at ease. Don't worry, none of your children were among the deceased, he said as all of the worry left the clan heads to be replaced by an overwhelming feeling of relief. The fatalities were Dasukinito of Odagakure, Misumi Tsurugi of Konohagakure and Sai of Konohagakure. Danzo's eye widened slightly when he heard one of his best operatives' names on the list of the deceased. How is that possible? Sai was one of my best. He was easily at the level a newly appointed Jounin, who could possibly have the power and skill to kill him. He thought before the voice of his rival brought him out of his thoughts. As best as I could tell, their deaths were quick and efficient. Dasi Kinyata well to Gara of the desert, who seems to have a unique control over sand. He used this ability of his to wrap Dasi in a cocoon of sand and then crushed him to the point where there were no remains of the boy, said Sarutobi as the civilian council all had disgusted looks on their faces and were probably close to losing their lunch. The Shinobi Council, though, was intrigued with this ability. Elemental Kekkei Genkais were not all that rare, but one that granted the user control over sand was news to them. We'll have to look into this new ability, was the general thought process of the Shinobi Council. Misumi's death, however, was at the hands of one of the Kumo Kunoichi. This news brought scowls to the faces of the Shinobi Council. First Kumo had the gall to kidnap the last heir of the Namikaze and Uzumaki, and now they kill one their aspiring genin. The Kunoichi Karui, Naruto's other teammate, was the one who killed him. She used a technique called Kumo style, whirlwind dance, that allowed her to literally shred Misumi to pieces, said Sarutobi, spitting the words teammate. However, it was the death of young Sai that has disturbed me the most. Danzo raised a questioning eyebrow at this. How had the death of his operative disturbed the famed god of shinobi and the professor? You see, he died at the hands of young Naruto. Of all the things the council was expecting, that was certainly not one of them. That Naruto could kill someone his age, let alone someone who should be one of his allies, just reaffirmed to the Shinobi Council that Kumo had brainwashed the boy to the point where he was just a mindless killing machine. But that's not all. It was the way in which Naruto killed young Sai that has me extremely worried. For you see, it would appear that Kumo has given Naruto the Black Lightning in hopes to corrupt the boy with power. Everyone on the Shinobi Council's eyes widened at this revelation. If the boy truly did command the Black Lightning, then getting him back into Konoha and under their control was going to be about 100 times harder than before. Danzo was deep in thought over these new revelations. If the boy was strong enough to defeat one of his most powerful and loyal operatives, then he must be a truly frightening shinobi. Now factoring in having the Black Lightning at his disposal, and even he was beginning to fear what this boy might become. Even if the boy did kill one of our shinobi, it just means that we must move as soon as possible to return the boy to his true home and reverse all the damage that Kumo has done to the boy, said Inoichi, as he watched the fire return to his fellow clan head's eyes, as well as the eyes of the Hokage. Inoichi is correct, we must make plans to return young Naruto to the village, said the Hokage. However, the civilian council, who had been unnaturally quiet throughout the entire meeting, decided to speak up. We will not allow that demon to return to the village. You said it yourself, Hokage-sama. He killed one our shinobi, so he should be executed immediately. Screeched the ever-annoying banshee that was Sayuki Haruo. My daughter hasn't had a peaceful night's sleep ever since she returned from that mission in Wave. I don't know what he did, but that demon did something to my daughter, and I demand that he pay for what he's done. She was about to continue before an extreme blast of killing intent flooded the room, all of it concentrated on her. I would suggest that you shut the hell up, said Sarutobi in a voice that froze the blood of everyone in the room. Even Danzo had to suppress a shudder at the tone. Naruto may not be a part of this village for now, but my law about speaking of the Kyubi still stands, and I will have you executed if you speak of it again. The seriousness in the old Kage's voice, along with an Anbu appearing behind her ready to carry out the deed, did what many thought impossible: silenced a pink-haired banshee. Now, as Inoichi said, plans must be enacted as soon as possible. How are the plans for having the clan heiresses seduce Naruto going? Smoothly. While I think most of us haven't had a chance to tell our daughters of the plan, I have already made arrangements to help remove the slut, said Hayashi as Inoichi nodded in agreement. While they were the only clan heads that had daughters, they knew that the other heads were already moving to have their clan's daughters assist in the plan. I have arranged for a small team of my clan shinobi to act as an assassination team to remove her. I have also made arrangements for a team of assassins from my clan to aid in the removal, said Inoichi as the Hokage nodded in agreement. He knew that his Anbu could easily remove the threat. However, it was a good idea to have two clans that made up most the village's assassination corps aid in the removal. However, I believe we should have a few backup plans in case for some reason the first fails. The other clan heads nodded in agreement. Their village hadn't earned the title of the strongest of the five without having backup plans in place. Inoichi-san is correct, we need a backup if something goes awry with the first plan, said Shibuya Barame in the monotone that his clan was known for. No one spoke for a while as each of the clan heads was in deep thought about ways to return the wayward blonde. The civilians were also deep in thought, however their thoughts weren't revolving around return a blonde shinobi safely to the village. No, their thoughts were revolving around how they could get rid of the blonde as soon as he was returned to the village, or better yet, kill him. Shadowed corner of council chambers. Those manipulative sons of bitches. When the boss finds out about what they have planned, he's gonna level this place. Although if Yugito-chan finds out. The clone shivered slightly at the thought of what his girlfriend might do. Judging from his reaction to Sei's death, Danzo is probably the one who ordered him to place that seal on me. Well, I guess I found my next target, thought Naruto, glaring at the head the root Anbu. I can't believe that the leaders of the strongest of the five would stoop so low just to get more power for the village. I mean, seriously, trying to seduce me with girls I hardly know have no physical appeal whatsoever, and are completely useless in a fight. Do they think my standards are that low, or do they even think I have standards? You have standards? Said a chuckling demonic voice from his mind. Should I take Korama, or it's back to that dark corner of my mind for you? Screamed the clone, which instantly shut the demon fox up. Calming down a little, he watched Shikaku Nara stand up. Trust a Nara to be the first come up with a backup plan. With the council. I have a suggestion, Hokage-sama, said Shikaku as he stood up from his seat. Kumo may have used it for power, but what if we use the loyalty seal on Naruto? In theory, the two different commands of the seals should cancel each other out and return Naruto's free will to him. Also, once he's free from outside influence, we should present him with his inheritance to help convince him to abandon Kumo. Sarutobi sat quietly contemplating the outcome of such a move should they be forced to resort to it. After a few minutes of tense silence, the Hokage nodded slightly with a small smile forming on his lips. I agree, Shikaku, it might be a little risky, but if the outcome is what we want, it will be well worth the risk, he said as the other clan heads and the elders nodded in agreement. Danzo smirked slightly. The very same plan he had tried to use against the Kyubi Jinchuriki was now being officially approved of by the Hokage himself. If the Hokage is approving this plan of action, then I can easily place one of my shinobi into the team sent to capture the boy and make sure they are the one to place the seal, he thought with his smirk increasing slightly. Very well, we will meet at the end of the week to discuss any other plans for returning Naruto to the village, said the Hokage before turning the clan heads, Inoichi and Hayashi specifically. Make arrangements for your daughters to begin seducing Naruto by tomorrow. The sooner we begin, the sooner Naruto will be back where he truly belongs. Sarutobi stood, along with everyone else in the room, before formally ending the meeting. If that is all, then this meeting adjourned. Like hell it is. With Team 20 - same time. So sensei, what's the plan for the next month? Asked Karui as she and her team walked back to the hotel they were staying at. They knew that Kakashi and the others were following them as per their orders from the Hokage, but they'd rather it be them than regular Konoha Anbu. I've already sent a message to the boss, he's sending B and Dodai ahead of him to assist in your training for the month-long break, said Darui as they arrived at their hotel room. Once Naruto had sealed the door using a basic Uzumaki seal, they opened the window to allow Naruto's siblings in. After everyone had a chance to settle in, Kakashi decided to start off the conversation. Well, it seems Sasuke isn't exactly happy about not being able to copy any of the techniques that were used during the prelims. Before I could stop him, he and his loyal lapdogs had already demanded a meeting with the Hokage, and were being escorted by Anbu. When they discover the seal you gave me, they'll demand its removal immediately. Guy, Kurena and Anko all looked slightly worried about this. If the council discovered whoever created that seal, then things would get really bad really fast. To the surprise of all of them, Naruto just chuckled slightly before reclining against to the back of the couch he was on. So we have a spoiled brat throwing a temper tantrum, two love-struck puppies complaining about something that doesn't concern them, running to a group of morons who think they can do whatever they want. I don't really see a problem with that, especially not with the plan that I will be putting into motion soon, he said as he watched the varying reactions from everyone present. Yugito and Karui just treated this like any other situation involving their blonde teammate. They learned fast that with him around things are never normal. Darui just sighed quietly. His successor was always unpredictable, but he never thought that he would try something that involved going against a cage. Apparently he forgot who his successor is exactly. Kakashi looked intrigued with this little announcement. His little brother had something up his sleeve that he believed could get one over on the Konoha Council. This next month is going to be very interesting. His fellow Jounin, however, still seemed concerned for their brother, though they looked willing to wait and see how things went. What exactly do you have planned, little brother? Asked Kakashi as he watched a foxy smirk the size of the Kyuubi himself spread onto the blonde's face. Oh yes. Things are definitely going to be interesting. Council chambers? Like hell it is. The council stood rooted in place as the owner of the voice stepped out from the shadows. The whisker-marked blonde stood before the entire council with his arms crossed and a scowl on his face. It took everyone present, including the hidden Anbu, a few seconds to recover from their shock, but once they did, all hell broke loose. The Anbu that were tasked with security launched from their places all around the room, trying to subdue the blonde, and hopefully kill him by accident. The second the civilians realized who the voice belonged to, they began shouting at the Anbu to kill him. The clan heads moved to intercept the Anbu, hoping to stop them from making the biggest mistake of their lives. Sarutobi stood frozen as he watched the scene unfold before him. He couldn't believe that the one he thought of as his own grandson had been spying on the meeting. Shaking off his shock, he tried to bring order back to the chamber, keyword being tried. The Anbu were too consumed by their hate to listen to their leader, and the clan heads knew that if they didn't stop the Anbu, then they would lose the last heir to two of the most powerful clans to grace Konoha. Naruto just stood and watched as 6 Anbu, each with swords drawn, raced towards him with the full intent of ending his life. Turning his head slightly, he noticed the clan heads racing in his direction as well. Judging by the speed they're moving, and the fact they aren't fighting each other to get to me, they're probably trying to stop the Anbu, he thought before he noticed the Anbu were almost on top of him. Time for phase 1. With the Hokage. Sarutobi could only watch as the bare-masked Anbu swung his sword and cleaved the young blonde's head from his shoulders. At that very moment, everything finally hit home for the aged Kage, his surrogate grandson. The legacy of his successor was well and truly dead. He had failed as a Hokage, and he had failed to protect the only son of two people he thought of as his own. Minato Kushina, I failed you, I couldn't protect Naruto. The civilians burst into cheers when they saw Naruto's head fall from his body. They were finally rid of the demon that had attacked their village all those years ago. They had avenged their loved ones and their fallen leader. Each was thinking that they would have to change the date of the village's annual festival from the day that the Kyuubi was defeated to the day that the demon was finally killed. This Anbu will be hailed as the hero of our village, the slayer of the Kyuubi, was the general thought process of most of the civilians. The clan heads were frozen in place. They couldn't believe that the legacy of two of the most powerful ninja to come from their village had been killed by one of their Anbu, no less. If it was the last thing they did, they would make this particular Anbu suffer for the rest of his life, and anyone who tried to stop them would meet the same fate. Everyone was brought out of their thoughts when they heard the sound of a throat being cleared. Turning to the source of the noise, they all noticed Danzo sitting in his seat with a very calm expression. The reactions to this varied all around the room. The civilians believed he was just happy that the demon was dead. The clan heads were enraged that he could just sit there so calmly, treating the situation as if it didn't matter at all. It the Hokage, however, who found his voice first, and he wasn't exactly happy. How can you be so calm about this situation? One of our own Anbu just killed the only heir to the Namikaze and Uzumaki clans, not to mention this could lead to potential war between us and Kumo. The death of one of their shinobi at the hands of our Anbu will not go over well, screamed the Hokage as his killing intent leaked from his body in waves. Danzo just turned to his old rival and smirked slightly. It wasn't his normal dark or plotting smirk though, it was a fox smirk. You know, old man, I'm surprised that your so-called elite Anbu couldn't detect a simple substitution jutsu, he said with a chuckle. Sarutobi looked confused for a second before Danzo vanished in a puff of smoke, putting every shinobi present on the defensive. When the smoke cleared, it revealed a very familiar and very much alive, whisker-marked blonde shinobi. I am curious though as to how they became Anbu if they couldn't even detect a simple jutsu that most seasoned genin can detect. Before anyone had a chance to recover from their shock, the distinctive sound of another puff of smoke came from behind them. Slowly they all turned to the source of the sound only to see the headless body of Danzo Shimura lying in a growing pool of its own blood. His disembodied head staring at them, a look shock forever etched on his old face. Turning back to the source of all of the commotion, Sarutobi was the one to break the endless silence. Naruto, why would do something like? He asked, shock and disbelief filling his voice. Naruto just snorted before he glanced around the room, taking in everyone's reactions to the current situation. The civilian council looked disgusted at the body that lay dead at their feet, but they were doing their best to ignore it by glaring at him with all the hate they could muster, and even if he couldn't see their faces, he was sure the Anbu had similar reactions. To be expected, they always did blame me for everything that ever went wrong in their lives, even if I wasn't even in the village at the time. The Shinobi Council seemed to having reactions the exact opposite to those of the Civilian Council. They actually smiled slightly when it finally sank in that Danzo was dead and they were looking him as if he was the savior of the world or something. The Hokage, however, was a completely different type of reaction. He didn't even seem to notice the body of his one-time rival that lay not 5 feet away from him, instead choosing to look at him with relief mixed with a bit of disappointment in his eyes. Why? Because he tried to have Sai place a loyalty seal on me that would make me loyal only to him. I killed Sai before he got the chance, and I just cut the head off the cobra before he could strike again. If his plan was successful, it would have interfered with my plan, said the blonde while he reclined back in the seat he now occupied. Sarutobi and the Shinobi Council raised their eyebrows at this, each wondering the same thing. What the hell does he mean by his plan? Seeing the question looks he was getting from them, Naruto sighed before he returned his attention to his audience. The first part of Phase 1 is complete, and now for the second part. I infiltrated this meeting to make sure you weren't planning something that could interfere with my plan. It looks like I made the right choice. Your plan to remove Yugito-chan from my side won't work, and you won't need to use a loyalty seal on me either. Shikaku-san was correct in saying that 2 loyalty seals on one person giving 2 different commands would cancel one another out. However, I already broke free from the seal that Kumo placed on me when they kidnapped me. What? How did you break the seal? Asked Sarutobi as relief flooded his system, and it showed as his posture instantly relaxed, believing that Naruto was of no threat to him and that he would ask to be returned to the village immediately. Said blonde noticed this and had to hide his smirk. Old fool, he's do exactly what I want him to. How I broke the seal's control is of no concern right now. What is important is that I warn you not to interfere with me and my team while the exams are still taking place. Doing so will put my plan at risk, and if I'm discovered, the consequences won't be pretty. As the old man told you earlier, I can wield the black lightning, but what you don't know is that ever since I broke the seal, I have been secretly collecting and copying scrolls containing information on every technique that Kumo has at its disposal. I only need a few more months to finish gathering everything, and once I have it, I plan to leave the Kumo and return here to my true home. God, I'm gonna be sick, boss will probably hurl after I dispel. No one could believe their ears, even the civilians and Anbu couldn't argue against the idea of allowing Naruto to return to the village if he was bringing that much knowledge with him. The clan heads were over the moon with excitement at the idea of getting their hands on every jutsu and technique that Kumo had. Sarutobi was indeed pleased with the idea of getting all those new jutsu, but what was the true joy for him was that his surrogate grandson would be returning to the village soon. Very well, Naruto, we will not interfere with your plan. I only ask that you meet with us as much as possible while you are in the village to keep us up to date with your progress, said the aged Kage, as the rest of the council, even the civilians, nodded in agreement with his statement. I'll come whenever I can, but I make no promises that I will be here regularly. My sensei is going to be training my team and I for most of the month-long break to help prepare us for the finals. However, I do have one request, he said as the Hokage nodded, signaling him to continue. I ask that you give me access to my birthright, my clan's compound here in the village, and access to the Hokage's personal library so that I can increase my knowledge of seals. Of course, Naruto, I will have Kakashi bring a map and the keys to your compound to you later on this evening. As for the library, I will leave instruction on where to find it and how to open it with the map Kakashi will bring to you, said the old man with his typical grandfatherly smile on his face. Hook, line, and sinker, he must be getting senile in his old age to not only give my access to the library but to give me its location as well, that or he's just plain stupid, thought Naruto as gave the Hokage a fake smile before he stood up to leave. I'll come by as soon as I can to report on my progress. Until then, I'll send reports to you via my siblings. I have to go before my team starts to wonder where I am. Oh, and before I forget, Sasuke Uchiha will be by soon, demanding that someone examine him since he can't access his chakra. Before he start pointing fingers in the wrong direction, I was the one who gave Kakashi Naizen and the seal the block of his chakra. The reason I did it was because I didn't want my hard-earned techniques and skills stolen by an arrogant brat with a tree up his ass, he said before walking out the doors with a Kyubi-feed smirk etched on his face. Phase 1, complete. Now to let the boss know to proceed to Phase 2, the clone thought before dispelling in a puff of smoke after making sure he was alone with Team 20. The real Naruto was sitting telling his team and siblings about his plan when he stopped all of a sudden, with a slight glaze in his eyes. Kakashi and Naruto's team recognized what was happening instantly. He was going through the memories of a clone that had just dispelled. He stayed that way a few minutes before his broke out of his daze and began cursing up a storm. When he finally calmed down, he was greeted with the sight of his red-faced siblings and team. Sorry about that, it's just some of the things that clone heard didn't really sit well with me, he explained. It seems the old man was planning to use the daughters of the clans to try and seduce me to give me a connection to the village, and if that were to fail they were going to put a loyalty seal on me to get me stay in the village. My clone made sure they wouldn't try anything, though I doubt that's going to stop the clan heads from trying to get their daughters to seduce me so their clan get my clan's power. Before he could continue, however, he was cut off by a huge spike of killing intent courtesy of his enraged girlfriend. If any of those useless sluts try to get anywhere near my Naruto-kun, I'll rip their throats out, she said, her voice taking on a demonic edge as her anger kept rising. Everyone slowly started backing away from the enraged Jinchuriki as she slowly started to leak out demonic chakra. Naruto didn't waste any time. The second she let out the first little bit of demonic chakra, he was over to her, and before anyone had time to say a thing they were gone in a shunshin. What the hell just happened? Asked Anko after she got her bearings back. She turned to her fellow Jounin only to see them just as confused as she was. They all turned to Karui when she let out a relieved sigh mixed with exasperation. Darui-sensei, you might want to postpone our training until the day after tomorrow. Judging from Yugito's anger this time, those two won't be back until midnight at the earliest, she said before she turned to face the 4 Konoha Jounin. You guys might want to return to your regular duties. Whenever one of them gets that angry, it usually takes about 5 hours of making out for the other to calm the pissed off one down. After she finished, Kakashi lasted maybe 1 second before he started giggling like a little schoolgirl with a blood stain growing on his face mask. Guy ran out of the room screaming something about the two blondes dampening their flames of youth with such unyouthful acts. Kurena, despite her Ice Queen exterior, blushed so red you could easily mistake her for a ripe tomato. Anko, though, had a similar reaction to Kakashi. A little bit of blood dripped out her nose, but instead of giggling she decided to comment on the situation. Damn, my little brother's already getting that kind of make-out session, and he's only 13? Lucky bastard's probably going to get laid before he's 15, she said with a smirk as Kurena's blush deepened and Kakashi was propelled out the window that was still open by a huge nosebleed at the image that his perverted mind came up with. Deciding to save the teasing for when the victims were actually present, Anko grabbed Kurena by back of her bandages of dragged the stunned Jounin out of the apartment, and towards her favorite bar. Well, I'm going to bed knowing those two, they'll probably fall asleep wherever they're at right now, said Darui as he moved to his room to get some rest. Karui nodded in agreement and went to her own room with one last thought before she fell asleep. Anko was probably right about those two laying each other before they're 15. I just hope they don't make me an aunt before I'm 18. Hyliga compound main house. Hayashi sat across from his eldest daughter, who seemed annoyed at being interrupted during her training. My daughter, I have a mission for you, said Hayashi, catching Hinata's attention during the prelims. Did you see someone by the name of Naruto Namikaze? At Hinata's nod he continued, he is the son of my old rival Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, and Kushina Uzumaki, the Red Death. Your mission is to seduce him so that we can get the power his clan possess for our own clan. You are to use whatever means necessary to seduce him, though you will have one minor obstacle to remove. The blonde slut that Kumo has put on his arm has to be removed. I have arranged for a team of assassins to assist in the removal, but I won't send them in unless you are unable to remove her yourself. Do you accept this mission, daughter? He asked, only to watch a smirk that could only be described as feral spread across Hinata's face. Of course, I accept, father. With a lineage such as his, he is the only male in this village is worthy of me. The slut won't be a problem either. What could she possibly have compared to me, the heiress of the most prominent clan in Konoha? Don't worry, father, by the end of the Shoyunin exams Naruto-kun will be mine and the slut will be dead, she said before she got up and left to continue her training, her smirk never faltering. Finally, a man worthy of me. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, soon you'll be right where you belong, by my side as it should be. Chapter -10. Naruto walked through the forest behind the Hokage monument with his team and siblings following him. Kakashi had delivered the map to his clan's compound that morning along with instructions to the Hokage personal library. He and Yugito had returned early that morning only to be greeted by a smirking Anko and Kakashi, who hadn't let up in their teasing one bit since they left the apartment. I still can't believe that you're getting a 5-hour-long makeout session and you're only 13. Man, I said it last night, and I'll say it again, you're gonna get laid by the time you're 15. Said Anko while Kakashi started giggling with a slight blood stain on his mask. Said Blondes blushed crimson for about the 100th time that morning. I swear if this is the teasing we get when we go make out, then I don't want to imagine what Nissan will do when we actually do it, thought Naruto as he continued to lead them through the lush forests of Konoha. Knock it off with the teasing, sis, or I'll tell everyone your secret little fantasy, said Naruto with a smirk playing at his lips. Anko shut up instantly, a shocked look on her face. You wouldn't really do that, would you, little brother? She asked with a nervous laugh. The mischievous fox smirk on her little brother's face was the only answer she got. The little brat is starting to take after me more and more. They continued their journey in silence after that, with the only sound being that of Anko's murmuring about evil little brothers with big mouths. After another 20 minutes of walking, they came upon the beautiful sight that was the entrance to the Namikaze clan compound. Instead of the fancy iron-crafted gates that the other clan compounds were known for, the entrance to the Namikaze compound was a traditional torii gate with a brick wall surrounding the rest of the compound. At the top of the gate was the Namikaze clan symbol. 9 tomi surrounding the kanji for shinobi was carved into the wooden face of the gate in gold. No one spoke for what seemed like hours, but in reality were only a few minutes, before Kakashi decided to break the silence. Naruto, the gate is sealed with a blood seal that can only be released with the blood of a Namikaze or Uzumaki. Your mother and father were like parents to me. I spent most of my time when I wasn't on missions here with them. Your parents were true master of the art of sealing. With their combined knowledge and skill they managed to create the barrier that protects the compound. I still remember the first time your father showed me how the barrier worked, and to this day I am still amazed at what they created. The barrier around your compound is the ultimate defense, unbreakable except to those who know the secret behind it. Naruto, you need to stand in front of the gate and smear your blood on the seal in the center of it, Kakashi explained to amazement and confusion of everyone else. There wasn't any seal on the gate, just the opening that led into the compound. "Hey Kurama, lend me your eyes for a second," said Naruto to his tenant. "You got it, Kit," came the demonic reply from the fearsome Kyubi. Naruto closed his eyes and felt the familiar prickling that signaled the change. Opening his eyes revealed the blood-red iris, with slitted pupil and black sclera. Looking at the Torii gate now revealed a light blue barrier preventing anyone or anything from entering the compound. His eyes widened when he saw the blood seal in the center of the barrier, seemingly floating in the air. Shaking off his momentary shock, Naruto stepped up to the invisible seal, and after biting his thumb smeared his blood on the seal, watching as it glowed for a split second before disappearing along with the portion of the barrier around the gate. While all this was going on, Kakashi had uncovered his Sharingans, so he could watch the barrier's reaction to his little brother's blood. Yugito had followed her boyfriend's example and used Minato-B's eyes to see the barrier, and was suddenly hit with inspiration when she saw the energy moving through the barrier as if blown by a gentle wind. "Kitten, that's a brilliant idea. Though it will take a long time to complete with all the factors that have to go into it. First, you need to be much more proficient in my special jutsus, and second, you'll need to be a borderline master of seals, or at least the barrier aspect of them," said Minato-B as Yugito mentally nodded in agreement. "Yeah, and that would mean more quality time with my Naruto-kun," she thought as an image of her and Naruto studying seals together entered her head, only to regret it immediately, as her perverted tenant started teasing her and warping her original image to one of her and Naruto doing some very perverted things in a public library. "Mata, we're too young for that, and who the hell would doing something like that in public other than you? Hey Yugito, wake up!" shouted Karui, snapping her out of her thoughts with her tenant. "Huh? What?" was her intelligent reply as she tried to get her bearings back. "I said come on, everyone's already exploring the rest of the compound," she said before grabbing her female teammate's hand and dragging her through the gate. The sight that greeted them was one they wouldn't soon forget. The main house of the compound was at least 3 stories tall and was built in the traditional Japanese style. The walls were a stained black wood with some intricate designs carved into the columns in the corners of the house. The roof was made out of obsidian black tiles that gleamed in the light of the noonday sun. Off to the side of the house they could see a large lake with koi fish swimming just below its surface. "Whoa," breathed the 2 stunned Kunoichi. The house seemed to give off an aura of comfort, and yet there was an underlying feeling of dread for anyone who wasn't welcome. "Hey you two, check this out." The sound of their male teammate's voice knocked the 2 stunned Kunoichi out of their stupor. Running to where they heard Naruto's voice, they found him standing with their sensei and his siblings looking out over the area behind the house. Behind the house was a training field easily the size of the Konoha Stadium, with lush trees surrounding the area helping it to blend in with the forest around them. Off to the side of the house there was a hot spring that had Yugito and Karui almost drooling at the thought of the relaxing water working its magic on their bodies. "Well, let's take a look inside. After that I'm gonna find my father's library," said Naruto as he walked back around to the front door with everyone following. When they reached the front door, Naruto used the key that Kakashi had given him that morning and opened the door for everyone to enter. The entry hall was fairly simple with a few paintings hanging on the wall. On their left was a doorway leading to a fairly large kitchen with a doorway to the living room just opposite the kitchen door. At the end of the hall they could see a hallway leading to some back rooms with a staircase next to it. "Let's get our things put away then get some training done. We can explore the house later," said Naruto as he moved towards the steps where Kakashi indicated the bedrooms to be. After everyone was settled into a room, with Naruto taking the master bedroom, they all met up in the spacious living room to decide on what their next move would be. "Now that we're all settled, we can start your all's training for the finals," said Darui as he watched his team nod in agreement. "Naruto, for now see what you can find in your clan's library and train with that. Also try and find out any information on where your ancestors might have hidden the Uzumaki vault. Yugito, see what fire jutsu you can find in the library and work with those until Dodai and B arrive to help. Karui, I can only teach you so much kenjutsu since our styles are so different, but in the meantime I'll train you in a few more water jutsu until we can find someone to help you with some more advanced kenjutsu. Actually Darui, I might know someone who can help with that, said Enko, catching everyone's attention. You probably don't know this, but Kurena and I were on the same genin team along with Hayate Gecko. We were taught by your mom Naruto, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. She was an expert in almost every field of the shinobi arts, and we each took after her in one way or another. I took after her in assassination and ninjutsu, Kurena obviously took after her in genjutsu, and Hayate took after her in terms of kenjutsu, and he's the best kenjutsu user in the village at the moment. He came to me after the exams and asked me if Naruto was indeed Kushina Sensei's son. When I told him you were, he swore on his life as a shinobi to help you in any way he could. I think he would be more than happy to assist in your all's kenjutsu training. Naruto sat thinking for a few minutes before nodding his head. Turning to Enko, he gave her the okay to find him and bring him to the compound to help with their training. As soon as the words left his mouth, Enko and Kurena were out the door in search of their teammate, their squeals of happiness still lingering in the air. Okay, those two scare me, said Karui as she suppressed a shudder. Everyone else nodded in silent agreement. It was scary how fast the two Kunoichi could go from their Ice Queen persona to giggling, squealing teenagers. Well, while those two are busy, let's get started, said Naruto as he stood up. Kakashi and Guy, head out and find the entrance to the Hokage library. After you know where it is, come get me and we can begin phase 2 of the plan. With a nod from the Jounins, they left in a shunshin to begin their search, knowing that their little brother's plan couldn't go forward without the library. Yugito-chan, let's head to the library and start our studying. Karui, when you're done with Darui-sensei you can join us, okay? With that, the blonde couple walked towards the back of the house, leaving their smirking teammate and sensei in the living room. Let's hope they don't do anything naughty, right, sensei? Said Karui as she watched the couple leave. Right, well I guess we better get started too, said Darui as he stood up and headed towards the training field in the back with his red-haired student following. With Naruto and Yugito, our two favorite blondes had just reached the library and were having trouble keeping their jaws attached to their bodies. The library was huge. From what they could see, it was almost as large as the master bedroom, which took up a good chunk of the third floor. Somehow managing to pick his jaw up off floor, Naruto took a closer look around the library. Shelves upon shelves of books and scrolls lined the walls and the middle of the floor all the way to the back of room, where he could just make out the outline of a vault door. Come on Yugito-chan, let's take a closer look, he said, breaking his still dazed girlfriend out of her stupor. Nodding in agreement, the two of them started to explore the library and figuring out where everything was and how it was all sorted. The first thing they noticed was that the scrolls and books were sorted by into the 5 major categories: ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu, sealing and kinjutsu. The ninjutsu section was further sorted into the 5 elemental categories and non-elemental ninja arts. These sections were further sorted by the ranking of the jutsu, starting as low as D rank and going all the way to S rank techniques. The genjutsu section was split into 2 sections, offensive and supportive, which were again sorted by rank. The taijutsu section was sorted into offensive and defensive styles, with a branch section for kenjutsu styles. The kinjutsu section, however, was only sorted by ranking, with the lowest rank being B rank. However, unlike the other sections in the rest of the library, this one was sealed behind a wall of glass with a blood seal in the center. The section on sealing was simply sorted into beginner, intermediate, and advanced sections. Well, what do you want to start with, Yugito-chan? Well, I'd actually like to start learning more about seals, specifically the barrier aspects of them, said Yugito as she continued looking through the fire-style part of the ninjutsu section and missed the million-watt smile that appeared on her boyfriend's face. Yugito-chan wants to study sealing with me? This has got to be one of the greatest days ever, screamed Naruto in his head while a chibi version of him was doing a victory dance. Yeah, now you two will have more time together, and you can finally claim her as your mate, came the demonic voice of Kurama as he sent a mental image of Naruto and Yugito doing some very indecent acts in the Namikaze library to his blonde container. Naruto had to clamp his nose closed to prevent being blasted back by the massive nosebleed that came with the image in his head. We're only 13, you pervert fox, we can't do anything like that yet. Yet, said Kurama with a raised eyebrow. That's it, back to the dark corner of my mind for you. With that, Naruto cut the connection with his tenant with the screams of terror from the great Kyuubi lingering in his head. Well, if you want to learn sealing Yugito-chan, then I'd be more than happy to teach you the basics, said Naruto, only to receive a searing kiss courtesy of his very happy girlfriend. After Naruto managed to untangle himself from his still very excited girlfriend, he gave her his famous fox grin before taking out a scroll and unsealed the scroll that had the Uzumaki sealing basics in it. Well then, let's begin. With Darui and Karui same time. Alright Karui, for now I'll be teaching you a new Kenjutsu technique. This technique is unique because only people who have a natural affinity for lightning-style jutsu can perform it. It's called Kumo style lightning saw. To perform this technique you must channel your lightning chakra into your sword and form it into a serrated edge along the blade. Once you have the chakra formed, you need to slash at whatever your target is while releasing the chakra in your blade so that it forms into a flying saw that is almost impossible to block. When you have the technique down, this should be the results, said Darui as he drew his cleaver sword and began channeling chakra into blade. If one looked close enough they could see the faint outline of saw-like teeth along the edge of the blade, with the occasional arc of lightning flashing between the teeth. Raising his sword, Darui swung it at one of the many target dummies in the training ground behind the Namikaze house. From the sword a spinning saw of pure chakra launched at the dummy, and cut through it like butter before dissipating into the air. This is a B-rank technique, and very difficult to master due to the incredible amounts of chakra control required to perform the technique. It will most likely take you the entire month to train this particular technique, but if Naruto's plan goes smoothly then you will have many more techniques to learn from the Hokage library, and if he agrees then Hayate himself. Alright sensei, I think I'll start training with that technique later on tonight. How about we work on another elemental jutsu for now? Asked Karui, while she mentally went through the steps she could take to help learn the lightning saw faster. We'll save elemental jutsu for when the whole team is together. For now though, we'll work on increasing your chakra control by having you walk on water while sticking the tips of senbon to your body with your chakra, said Darui as a sadistic smirk crossed his face, one that Karui recognized instantly. The only time sensei ever gets that smirk on his face is when he plans on putting any us through one of his hell run training sessions, thought Karui as she took step back in fear of what her sensei had in mind for her training. I should have gone with Naruto and Yugito to the library, was Karui's last thought before she began her hellish training in chakra control. With Kakashi and Guy same time. Are you sure we are going the right way, my eternal rival? Asked Guy, and the two jounin continued jumping from roof to roof. Positive Guy, Minato-sensei once took me to the library to put the information regarding the Karui and Raikiri into it as an S-rank assassination jutsus respectively. I don't remember the exact location, but I do remember the general area it's in, said Kakashi as they stopped on a roof a few blocks away from the Hokage Tower. We're close, there are 2 Anbu in the area, most likely guards to stop any intruders who manage to get this close. Looking over the area they were in, he noticed a small warehouse a block from their position. Remember Kakashi, sometimes the most powerful secrets are hidden in plain sight. The voice of his deceased sensei drifted through his mind as the memory of his time in the library surfaced. Flashback. Minato-sensei, I thought you said we were going to the Hokage library to add in my Karui and Raikiri to the archives. Asked a young Kakashi. His sensei had told him that they needed to add in his 2 creations so that any future assassination specialist could have access to them for high-profile missions. This doesn't look like a place that would hide the village's greatest secrets. Chuckling, Minato turned to his prized, and only remained student. Kakashi, don't you always say to look underneath the underneath? As shinobi we must not take anything at face value because nothing is ever as it seems. Remember Kakashi, sometimes the most powerful secrets are hidden in plain sight, said the 4th Hokage as he led his silver-haired student into the small warehouse a few blocks from the Hokage Tower. End flashback. Found it, Guy, said Kakashi as said green spandex-wearing shinobi moved over to look at the warehouse. Not exactly the place I would have chosen to hide the village's greatest secrets, he said as he continued to look at the building. Maybe, but it's like my sensei once said, sometimes the most powerful secrets are hidden in plain sight. Come on, Let's get back to the compound. Naruto's going to want to start the second phase of his plan as soon as possible. Nodding in agreement, the two Jounin took off, back to the Namikaze compound, both eager to see what else their little brother had planned for their former village. Namikaze compound later that night. Team 20 sat across from Naruto's siblings in the living room of the Namikaze house with one extra face present. Hayate Gecko sat in between his two former teammates staring at Naruto with a pleading look in his eyes. Noticing the look in his new guest's eyes, Naruto decided to get things started. Hayate-san, my sisters say that you studied under my mother with them, and while I trust their judgment, I would like to confirm some things for myself, said Naruto as Hayate nodded in understanding, silently asking him to continue. First off, if my mother was still alive and she had decided to leave the village for some reason, would you follow her, or would your loyalties stay with the village? Hayate, to everyone but Anko and Kurena's surprise, didn't hesitate in his response. Your mother, Naruto, was the closest thing I have ever had to a mother. Like you, I never had the chance to meet my parents, but when I was placed on Kushina-sensei's team I finally found the closest thing to a mother that I would ever know. She took me in, the same way Minato-sensei took in Kakashi. They were my family and my loyalties to my family have and always will be greater than that of my village. No one spoke for a while, all of them overwhelmed by the emotion in Hayate's voice as he spoke of his former sensei. Anko and Kurena had each grabbed one of his hands in the middle of his story. They knew how much their former sensei meant to him, so they did their best to try and comfort him. However, the silence didn't last long as Hayate, it seemed, wasn't finished yet. When I found out sensei was pregnant with you, I was overjoyed. But that was nothing compared to the joy I felt when sensei asked if I would like to be your big brother. But then the Kyuubi attacked. By the time I made it back to village from the mission I was on, Minato-sensei had already sealed the beast, and when I asked the third about it, he told me that Kushina-sensei had died in childbirth along with her son. After that I fell into a depression that soon became an illness. I felt as if I had no reason to live. I just went through the motions of life, not caring or paying attention to anything. When I learned who you were during the prelims, I couldn't believe it at first. It felt too good to be true. But after Anko and Kurena said it was really you, I was elated. I still had a chance to be the big brother I always wanted to be, and for that dream, and in honor of my late sensei, I will follow you wherever you go, help to train you and your team in whatever I can. After what this village has done to you, they no longer deserve my loyalty now lies with you, my family. Naruto stood up at the end of Hayate's speech and walked over to the sickly Jounin, silent tears falling from his eyes. Kneeling before the swordsman, Naruto enveloped him in a brotherly hug, the joy of finding a long-lost sibling overwhelming the both of them. Anko and Kurena could only smile at the scene. They had tried many times to convince Hayate that Naruto was indeed Kushina's son, but every time he would ignore them, saying that Kushina's son was dead. To finally see the two together as it always should have been was enough to bring tears of joy to the eyes of the Ice Queens. Kakashi was smiling under his mask at the scene. He and Hayate had been the closest things the other had to a brother because of their senseis. For him, seeing the two brothers united like they should have been from the beginning was almost too much for the famous copy ninja. Guy had anime tears running down his face at the scene. He had been trying for years to bring Hayate out of his funk with his youthfulness, only to fail. Now his little brother had finally done what he couldn't. In his mind, a chibi guy was going on and on about his little brother's flames of youth. Pulling away from the hug, Naruto smiled at Hayate before rejoining his team on the opposite couch. After that, I don't think any of my other questions are necessary, so let's get you caught up with everything that's been going on, said Naruto before going into a brief, but detailed explanation of everything that had happened up to that point, and what else they had planned for the coming month. At the end of the explanation, Hayate couldn't hide the evil smirk that crossed his face at the thought of what his little brother had planned for the third Hokage. Payback's a bitch, you lying bastard, thought Hayate as he continued to listen to his brother's plans, and what they would be focusing on training-wise for the month-long break. Alright, now that everyone's been brought up to speed, I think it's time to begin phase 3 of the plan, said Naruto as he made a shadow clone, and with a nod disappeared in a shunshin. Well, my clone gets things moving again. How about we get a little ninjutsu training in? With nods of agreement from everyone, They made their way out to the training field behind the house. Soon the Raijin will be back where it truly belongs, in the hands of an Uzumaki, thought Naruto as he watched Kakashi demonstrate a new wind technique he would be learning. Hokage Tower after Clone left. Hiruzen Sarutobi sat at his desk going through the endless paperwork that continued to appear. I swear, sometimes I wonder why I agreed to take this position, he thought as he stamped yet another document with his official seal. He was interrupted from his work when he heard the sound of a throat being cleared. Slightly startled that he hadn't sensed the person's arrival, he looked up into the smiling face of his surrogate grandson. "Ah, Naruto? What can I do for you, my boy?" asked Sarutobi with a smile, though he was silently wondering how Naruto had achieved such advanced stealth abilities. To be able to sneak up on me is no easy feat. Little did he know Naruto the answer to his question. Old fool must really be going senile if he didn't sense my approach, that or he thinks he doesn't have to worry about anyone trying to attack him while he's in the village. "Actually, I have a request to make of you," said Naruto, catching Sarutobi off guard slightly. "What do you know of the Raijin sword?" "Well, it is a legendary blade that is said to have been forged from a lightning bolt with the ability to cut through anything and everything it comes in contact with. My former sensei the second actually wielded the blade in combat many times, however it was stolen from the village a few years back by a rogue ninja by the name of Aoi Rokusha," said Sarutobi, not caring if he was divulging village secrets to someone not even from his village. "What, these fools allowed some useless traitor to steal an Uzumaki treasure? I swear if it's the last thing I do, this village will pay for its crimes against my clan. If it has been stolen, then I must ask that send out a team to retrieve the blade immediately. The Raijin is a key factor in whether or not my plan is successful. If I don't have it, then it could not only mean the failure of my plan but also result in my death," said Naruto as he watched the Hokage's face go from confused to horror in mere seconds. "Senile old man is playing right into my hands. Don't worry, Naruto. I promise that by the end of the week you will have the Raijin in your possession. For now, why don't you go train for the finals, and if you run into any of your siblings, please send them to me immediately. They will be leading the mission to retrieve the Raijin for you," said the aged Kage as he signaled for his Anmu to go and find said Jounin. "Thanks, old man. I'll try and contact you as soon as I can," said Naruto as he walked out of the room before dispelling with a smirk on his face and one final thought. Phase 3 has begun. That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe for the next video, as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists. Hope you would like them too.